Beautiful Reliance Stadium just across the parking lot from the Astrodome. We are indoors. The roof is closed, as it normally is for games here. Mike Munchak is in his third year. He's in the Hall of Fame, one of 7 coaches who have been head coaches after being inducted into Pro Football's Hall of Fame. Houston born and Houston raised, and Texas A&M quarterback Gary Kubiak is now in his 8th season with his hometown team, the Texans. Coming off a terrific win on the road, week 1. Now the question is that indicative of where they are? Keyshawn Martin is deep back, a second-year player out of Michigan State. He's a speed merchant. And the kickoff will be Rob Baronis, who's got a big leg, and the Titans will be counting on him. The Titans winning last week in Pittsburgh 16-9. And, of course, the come-from-behind win 31-28 in San Diego for the Texans. It's Tennessee and Houston, and here we go. And Martin will let it go out of bounds, which will take us to the Texan offense, led by quarterback Matt Schaub, who is coming off a terrific second half, as we mentioned before, and it made a big difference, and those were his game numbers in San Diego.
Coming into the 2013 season, so many questions swirling around Matt Schaub. Is he the quarterback that can lead this team to a championship? I think he answered a lot of those questions in week 1 with a fabulous game on Monday night.
Arian Foster begins in the backfield, and Daniels is in motion. Arian Foster on 1st and 10. He slipped one tackle. He got away from Morgan, and he slithers for 11. He has a first down out just beyond the 30-yard line. And pretty good offensive line, certainly, with Pro Bowlers Brown, Smith, and Myers. The concern on the right side with Newton and Brooks. Dwayne Brown had a tough go against White Freeney in San Diego. Did not grade very well. And you see the weaponry, and there's a lot of it, including Andre Johnson, a terrific game. 12 catches in Southern California Monday, 1st and 10. Foster again with the Daniels block. And jumping on him in the secondary with the stop, Cody Sensible on a gain of 4 to the 34. Jarrell Casey had 2 sacks of Ben Roethlisberger last week, so he was impressive. A #1 pick, and Derek Morgan on the outside. Zach Brown is an emerging player who is a guy you're going to want to keep track of today. He has really been playing well. And in the secondary, a familiar strong safety in number 31, Bernard Pollard. He used to play for these Texans. 2nd and 6, Tate. A great block and off to the races. And it's a foot race with Brown and all the way inside the 10. To the 6. Galloping 60 yards. 1st and goal, Houston.
Watch the tackle, the left tackle, Dwayne Brown, Wade Smith. Look, it's just a soft edge here. And that's why Ben Tate's able to get outside. You've talked about 2 running backs, and we told you in the open, Arian Foster, Ben Tate. Ben Tate is putting a lot of pressure for Arian Foster to play well. And Gary Kubiak told us, the guy with the hot hand, that's who we're going to give the rock to. Both guys getting off to a good start.
1st and goal. Hopkins, the rookie receiver, on the move. And this is Foster. Good block by Newton. To the 1. On a gain of 5, a good burst there. Werner, a couple other Tennessee Titans got their hand on the very elusive running back, and there's Tate. What a 1-2 punch, and you talked about it in the open.
And Gary Kubiak says, you know what, I'm going to use this running back competition to my benefit. 4 consecutive run plays to start the game, 3 of them going to Arian Foster. And Ben Tate, he makes use of the 1 carry he has so far in this game.
3 tight ends, and Jones, the fullback, on a 2nd and goal. Good fake by Shaw. Touchdown, Garrett Graham.
Play action fake. The run game is so good and so strong. We said it in the open. They want to suck the linebackers up to the line of scrimmage so the tight ends can get open in the backfield. And look at this. Just a fake right there. Graham detaches. He was in pass protection. And then release and catch the touchdown. These tight ends accounted for 3 of Schaub's touchdowns week 1.
Here comes Randy Bullock. He had the game-winning field goal in Southern California on Monday. Puts that baby through on a 5-play, 80-yard drive. A touchdown reception last week for Garrett Graham. A touchdown reception today with a 60-yard run by Ben Tate. That was the difference, and the Texans are on the board early in Houston. Tight end Graham had 3 touchdown receptions all of last season. Now he has 2 in less than 2 games. He played at Wisconsin with J.J. Watt, so there's a Badger feel here in the great state of Texas. The ensuing kickoff. Darius Reno will leave it in the end zone 8 yards deep. So in a quick hole on a 1-yard touchdown run with a beautifully orchestrated drive by his counterpart, here comes Jake Locker out onto the field. Meager numbers last week, but a win in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he may have to put up bigger numbers this week if he's going to keep pace with this Houston Texans offense. They can score points in bunches, and the Titans are going to have to prove they can keep pace with them.
It's Chris Johnson on 1st and 10. He finds a hole and looking for a block from Britt and brought down by KO as he weaves for 16. Good start for the Tennessee Titans up to the 36-yard line.
It's just good blocking coming in off the left side of that offensive line. It's a revamped offensive line. They're built for power, the ability to move bodies up front, and this is one of those defenses here in Houston. They're not easy to block. They got off to a slow start in San Diego, and so far seems like a slow start on that first play.
And they welcome back Antonio Smith this afternoon. First and 10.
Way to go!
Here comes Watt. There goes Locker. And he'll run for his life and is being chased by Earl Mitchell. That's one of the things Locker can do. He did only get a yard on that scramble. That'll make it 2nd down and 9. The interior of that offensive line, brand new. Levitri from Buffalo, Turner from St. Louis, and Warmack was a player for Nick Saban at Alabama. 2 6'7" tackles. And here you see all the weaponry. Delaney Walker comes over from San Francisco. He will make a difference. 2nd down and 10. Taylor Thompson, the tight end. Johnson again. Thompson with the block into the secondary and drilled that time by Kareem Jackson. As he picks up about 4 on the play and up to about the 40-yard line. And here's the line. We mentioned Antonio Smith back after a 3-game suspension. Swinging his helmet in the preseason. Missed last week. And, of course, J.J. there anchoring the line. How about these guys? Cushing had the big-time interception, which turned the game around last week with a touchdown run of 18 after the pick. And you can see Jonathan Joseph, he is the shutdown corner. No Ed Reed today, missing a 2nd consecutive game. 3rd and a short 7. Bruce with the block. Oh, J.J. Watt's got him with the flag. Down he goes at the 36. It's a sack. It's a loss of 3, and let's see what the flag is all about.
Ely's the hands to the face. Number 99, the defense. The 5-yard penalty added to the end of the play. 1st down.
They got him.
They got J.J. Watt working against the rookie, Chance Warmack, number 70. Look, right there. See the hand in the face? It just drives Warmack right back into Jake Locker. And he's setting the tone early. And yes, it's a penalty. And no, he should not go with the hand to the face of the rookie, but he's letting the rookie know that he's in for business.
1st and 10. Good block by Watt, and that springs Chris Johnson free for 6 as he goes to the 47-yard line. J.J. Watt comes inside, doesn't he, on pass down. So he against the rookie Warmack will be, as you were talking about, a nice matchup.
You can expect to see J.J. Watt move up and down this defensive line. He'll line up outside. He'll kick down inside at a defensive tackle position. He can get so much done. And the Titans, what they want to do is just keep a body on him all day. Their goal is to keep a body on J.J. Watt, keep a body on Brian Cushing.
Texans in the nickel. 2nd down and 4. Outside they go to Kendall Wright. Look at the block by Roos, and the tackle is made by Swearinger in the secondary. That is a catch and run for 13 down to the Texan 39.
I think it's a good game plan if you're the Tennessee Titans. You got to know who to block, and watch Cushing here. See, now, did they get a body on him? Absolutely. Warmack slows him up enough just to get the receiver to the next level of the defense. If you can get a body on their key playmakers, maybe you'll have room to make plays.
Ready, go.
First and 10. That's the fullback Mooney, and a good tackle made by Sharpton, who has been missing some time. He had a concussion. He had to go through the concussion protocol. He makes the tackle there. It's a gain of 5. Put him at the 34.
Oh, Sharpton, Mays, Cushing, Brooks Reed, and Whitney Merciless. This is a linebacking core for the Texans that can flat out run. And I think Wade Phillips understands he's got the makings of a really good defense here. Playmakers at every level.
4 defensive backs facing second down and 5. Johnson with the block by Stevens and a tackle made by Cushing. They throw him for a 1-yard loss. A drive that started back on the 20-yard line with a look at Wade Phillips.
Yeah, Wade Phillips did a wonderful job in going to more of a zone scheme on the back end against Phillip Rivers. I think it turned the tide of the game. His ability to make adjustments and put together a defense to make plays, I think, has been phenomenal in helping this organization go to the next level, Kevin. They've always been good on offense, but over the last couple of years with a top 10 ranking under Wade Phillips, they've won 2 consecutive division titles.
3rd and 6. Battle is in. 6 in the secondary. Locker right on the money, caught by Washington, pushed out of bounds by Joseph. That is a first down catch and run to the 18 of Houston. A pickup of 17. Good-looking drive by Tennessee.
Yeah, the key is they're in man-to-man. Whenever you can catch the Texans in man-to-man coverage, there's Washington getting separation from Jonathan Joseph, who took an inside position with so much room to the outside. It was an easy throw from Locker. And that's where Phillip Rivers really were able to make plays against this Texans defense in Monday night, man-to-man.
9th play of the drive. Wormack with the block. Look at Battle steamroll the defense and take it to the 8. He comes as a free agent from San Diego, began in Dallas, then Kansas City, a gain of 9 the hard way.
Zachy Battles had 300 consecutive touches without a fumble in his career. Look at that physicality he lays on Daniel Manning. You're talking about a physical team with the Tennessee Titans. You add a guy like this to the team and Delaney Walker and those interior offensive linemen, they can assert their physicality on any football team.
Chris Johnson back in on second down and 1. Mooney the block, clogged up inside, close to a first down. Antonio Smith coming off a very good year, as you see right there with the stop. Boy, he was anxious to get back and eligible again. He met the team when they came back at about 6 in the morning at the Houston airport from San Diego.
And everyone else, you know, they were ready to go home. but Antonio Smith went into the building, got a workout in. He was just eager to be back off suspension where he can join his teammates.
Well, the drive, a 16-yard run by Johnson. Wright with a catch and run of 13. Washington, a pass reception of 17. They got it. Well, hold on. Yep, they did. By the link of a chain.
By a nose.
By a nose. And a huge penalty on J.J. Watt after it looked like he had sacked the quarterback. And a former Oiler lineman, Mike Munchak, is watching his team answer the Texans, who just went buzz-cutting right through the Tennessee defense to get a 7-0.
You can see they're the only team to score on every goal-to-goal possession during the 2012 season. When they get these opportunities, and with a revamped offensive line, they should expect to be able to score.
2 tight ends, first and goal at the 8. Johnson had a block. It's batted down at the line of scrimmage. Was it 99? Oh, yes, it was.
He is incredible. He just got a sense and a nose for where the quarterback is going to go with a football. Watch him get into the throwing lane. This is what he said he talked about. And we spoke with him, Kevin, on Friday, and we said, what were your goals this offseason? He says, to get better in every phase of the game. I could do everything better. Are you kidding me? The guy was defensive MVP 1 year ago. He still feels there's room for improvement.
Attention to detail. You're right. Second and goal at the 8. Johnson brought down by Cushing. Spun down after a gain of 1. Solomon down to the 6.
You're not going to find better playmakers than J.J. Watt and Brian Cushing. Watch Cushing on this play. Watt, yeah, they get blocked there, but Cushing is a guy that loops around and goes in to make a really nice tackle. He had a body on him, was able to get free and still knife in to tackle Chris Johnson in the backfield.
6 defensive backs, 3rd and goal at the 6. Opening drive for the Titans. Play clock at 4. And to the end zone, caught, right, touchdown! He beats McCain. 6-yard pass, and Kendall Wright, one of the bright young receiving stars in the NFL, laxos a pass, and a flag in the end zone. I think celebration.
Well, we told you Jake Locker was going to have to make some plays, Kevin. What a throw from the 3rd-year quarterback.
After the touchdown, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yep.
Offense. Group celebration after choreographed demonstration after the score. That penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
Watch this throw from Jake Locker. Clear on one hash and out on the outside. This is tight coverage. Look at that. And what an excellent catch by Kendall Wright. Now you got to cut out the celebration. It's an organized one between he and other teammates, but I got to tell you, the ability for the Titans to answer the drive by the Houston Texans to begin this game, that was huge by this young football team.
Well, he's from Pittsburgh, Texas, Kendall Wright, so he's back home, so to speak, in his home state, and he comes up with a terrific catch. Baronis will try to tie it, and he does. Late stages, first quarter. Kendall Wright, the most prolific wide receiver in Baylor history. Caught him from RG3 there, catches him from Locker in the NFL.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Microsoft Surface. Click in and do more. And by the new 4-door Fiat 500L.
I don't know whether Jake Locker has led many better NFL drives in his very young career.
He told us he spent the offseason working on throwing from a crowded pocket and speeding up his progression. 4 or 5 on the drive for 42 yards, and what a laser to Kendall Wright for the touchdown.
And including 2 key 3rd down passes. Kicking at the 20 because of the unsportsmanlike celebration in the end zone after the touchdown reception. So Keyshawn Martin takes it at the 7. He's out of Michigan State. Ko giving a block. Swearinger giving a block. And he's out past the 41, and Tommy Campbell makes the stop after a 34-yard kickoff return. Both quarterbacks looking good on their first possession. Here comes Houston, tied at 7 with visiting Tennessee on CBS. Opening kickoff went to the Texans, Solomon. They went 5 plays and 80 yards.
Yeah, and 4 of them were explosive run plays to Arian Foster and a 60-yarder by Ben Tate to get it into the red zone. The only time they threw the ball was on a touchdown pass from Shaw to Graham. And look at this, the Tennessee Titans defense, we told you they were much improved, only allowing 31 rush yards last week against Pittsburgh. They give up 79 rushing yards on the very first drive of this game. They've got to improve against Arian Foster and Ben Tate.
Ben Tate begins this drive in the backfield, 1st and 10. Tate, Newton with the block, Brooks with the block, and out to the 43-yard line. You see the pile making the stop after a gain of 2. He's up to the 43. Fantasy football fans, there's still time to get in and play with the best this season. New games are available to join today. Sign up now at cbssports.com/football. It'll be 2nd down and 8. Newton again, the good block on the right tackle. Tate brought down on the play by Zach Brown, a meager gain of 3 to the 46.
Kevin, this offseason, the Tennessee Titans went out and spent over $100 million to help improve their football team. Part of it was spent on the offensive line, but they also brought over a guy like Bernard Pollard, who formerly had played here with the Houston Texans, to give this team some leadership, to give them some toughness. And defensively, they felt like they played too many snaps 1 year ago, and right now they appear to be on the field for quite a bit here in the first quarter.
On 3rd and 5, That is caught by DeAndre Hopkins. It is a first down catch and run. Tackle made by Bernard Pollard. That's a pickup of 14 for Hopkins, who had 5 catches in San Diego Monday.
DeAndre Hopkins, the first-round pick from Clemson here. They free him up, and they just believe he's going to be the answer in terms of a player opposite of Andre Johnson, getting them off to a good start. 5 catches week 1 in San Diego. Already a big play here in this game as we see Pollard coming up and making the play. You can just feel both of these teams going toe-to-toe, trying to land the early knockout blow.
Foster is in. Hopkins, by the way, the #1 all-time receiver in the history of Clemson football. And what about this guy, Andre Johnson? Brought down by Brown. It is a gain of 6. He travels to the 34 as we travel to New York. And James Brown.
How do you keep a wide receiver happy, Shannon?
Closed mouth, don't get fed, JB. He complained last week on this opening drive, 3 catches, 46 yards. Jailbreak screen, 18 yards later, into the end zone, 7-0. Dolphins over the Colts.
Kevin Harlan, Solomon Wilcots.
You and I saw Miami last week, and they look pretty sharp.
Yeah, Mike Wallace doesn't want to serve as a decoy, but he's capable of creating big plays in the offense, and they will come if he's patient.
Andre Johnson, as you see, jumping back up. That is a good sign. He was down, the #20 all-time receiver. That was his 831st career catch.
Well, this guy's a future Hall of Famer in my book. And last year, he was targeted 58% of the time. He was able to get up and walk off. And, you know, he's targeted so much. Teams know he's going to get the ball, but yet he's still able to make plays. 6-time Pro Bowler. Has been just a phenomenal player to build around here in Houston.
Keyshawn Martin will take the place of the veteran Johnson. 2nd down and 4 with Foster in the backfield. Here they come again, Zach Brown, and all Schaub can do is throw it away, and it was almost intercepted by Moses Foku. Incomplete, 3rd and 4.
Oh, Matt Schaub avoided that costly mistake that cost him on his first attempt in the Monday night game in San Diego. See, he has to get out of the pocket as pressure comes in his face from Zach Brown, but this ball has to at least clear the line of scrimmage, and that's why it floated in the air for quite some time. Brown is an impressive player added to this defense. He flies around, he hits, he hustles, and he makes the opposing offense pay.
6 defensive backs for the Titans. Foster remains, 3rd and 4. Arian Foster. And tackled by George Wilson, the former Bill, after a gain of 2, shy of the first down to the 32-yard line, and this means a field goal try for Randy Bullock.
Interesting call by Gary Kubiak, deciding to run it on 3rd and 4, trusting that Arian Foster would be able to make the play. They checked to it simply because they spread them out and they felt like they had the numbers in the box to be able to run the ball.
Well, this kid, Randy Bullock, is a 2nd-year player out of Texas A&M, but he was on the injured list all last year with a groin injury. So he had the game-winning kick in his NFL debut last week. He tries a 50-yarder here, and he is no good. Wide right. Bullock with the miss. He missed one last week from 51. His game winner was good from 41. But a 50-yard miss right there. So the Titans hold on. We remain tied in Houston.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Domino's. Order from Domino's.com today and don't forget to track your order. And by FedEx. Request when and where your packages are delivered with FedEx Delivery Manager.
Under 2 to play here in the first quarter. Each quarterback has thrown a touchdown pass. 2nd possession for Tennessee after the missed field goal by the Texans. 1st and 10. More good time for Walker, and overshoots Delaney Walker. Walker can't find Walker. Incomplete. Coverage on the play by KO, taking the place of the injured Reed.
Well, Walker is a guy they expect to win in those situations. I thought he had a step on KO, who's, of course, replacing Ed Reed in the lineup. Locker just kind of overshot him a bit, and that's where Locker can also improve on his overall accuracy. He's got to improve in that area.
With a couple tight ends, 2nd down and 10. Good block by Walker. And once again, Chris Johnson is off to the races, brought down by Kareem Jackson. A gain of 12 to the 48. He had a gain earlier in the game of 16.
And watch Delaney Walker. Watch the block right there. That is an incredible block on Earl Mitchell on the nose tackle. It allows Johnson to get to the second level of the defense. Delaney Walker is one of those versatile players. He's tough. He's excellent in terms of matchup as a receiver, but a really good blocker at the point of attack as well.
Just under 6 yards a carry now for Chris Johnson. 7 years in San Francisco for Delaney Walker, including an appearance in the Super Bowl a year ago. Here's a 1st and 10. Reese with another good block. The back of the receiver, shy and incomplete for Kendall Wright. Former #1 pick out of Baylor.
Yeah, you can see them trying to sync things up. And how about this? Locker talked about it. He said he spent the offseason just practicing throwing from a crowded pocket. And we came in saying they'd have to get him out on the move. They've done some of that, but they're also allowing him to throw the ball from the pocket against this defense that bats down so many passes. And we've seen him connect in the pocket. We've also seen him misfire.
On 2nd down and 10, Womack with the block. Chris Johnson evading tacklers inside the 40, brought down by Danielle Manning. A weaving run of 9 for Chris Johnson.
Yeah, I asked Chris Johnson. I said they want you to get 150 yards every single week after the 2.8 yards per carry against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He says, yeah, even I have that expectation. He said after you rush for 2,000 yards in a single season, the expectations are very high. He really puts a lot of pressure on himself to make runs like what you just saw.
He's now the 3rd all-time leading rusher in franchise history. Oilers and Titan back of Eddie George and Earl Campbell. 2 yards to go on 3rd down. Chris Johnson whacked by Sharpton. They call it a gain, close to a 1st down to about the 38. That's some pretty good company, isn't it? Earl Campbell and Eddie George, and now Chris Johnson in there. He is the 3rd running back in the history of this franchise to be over 7,000 yards on the ground.
And he's done it in what? Just under 6 seasons.
Right.
So this guy is going to probably pass some of those great players you talked about.
First big decision of the game for Mike Munchak to start the 2nd quarter.
Oh, Munchak wants to keep his defense off the field by getting a new set of downs right here. And you don't want to give the ball back to Matt Schaub so soon, because the more times they get the ball, the opportunity to score increases.
Jackie Battle is in. 4th and 1. Battle. Oh, I don't know. He looked with the help of a nice stop by Antonio Smith to come up short. He does. On downs, it will go to Houston.
How about Antonio Smith making his presence felt early in the ball game after sitting out week 1 due to a suspension? Watch him knife in right there, getting penetration, knifing in under Chance Warmack, able to hit Jackie Battle in the backfield right there, stopping him from picking up the 1st down.
And again, Sean Green is out today because of an injured knee from last week. And so here we go with the Texans the other way. Foster in the backfield. It's Arian Foster with a block by Greg Jones and a tackle made by Zach Brown, who led this team in tackles last week against the Steelers on a gain of about 2 to the 42. And a player down. It looks like it is Derek Morgan. Nope, take that back. Sammy Hill, free agent, signee from Detroit. So with the player down and 14:46 to play in the 1st half, we take a break with each quarterback throwing a touchdown pass so far. As you can see, they're looking at the leg and the ankle of Sammy Hill, and taking his place now Antonio Johnson. There is a lot of rotation on that defensive line, as you may expect. Foster remains for Houston, 2nd and a long 7. Saw the flag, ball deflected at the line. 2 flags thrown, 1 near the line of scrimmage, 1 downfield for Jeff Triplett's crew today. On that 2nd and a long 7.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Offside. Number 91 of the defense lined up in the neutral zone.
Morgan.
Holding. Number 75 of the offense. Those penalties by rule offset. Replay second down.
Derek Newton.
Yeah, Derek Newton, the right tackle. He had to hold Derek Morton, who, of course, see right there, he's lining up inside that neutral zone. And so he was forced to hold him, didn't want to get into the quarterback. Look at him come underneath right there, working against the right tackle, Derek Newton.
Second down and 7. Brown with the left tackle block. Behind and low for Arian Foster. Made some headlines this week. He was frustrated with his playing time, Solomon, last week in San Diego. And as he comes back with no preseason time, he's splitting some time with Tate in the backfield.
And Coach Kubiak explained it, said, look, we'd like to get him at 30 touches in the game, but he says he's only been back practicing for only 3 weeks. He really explained that Ben Tate had pretty much been their starter for the first 6 weeks from training camp through the early part of the season, taking all of the reps with the #1 offense because Foster's been plagued by calf and back injuries.
Earlier we saw Andre Johnson go off the field injured. You can see him in motion right there. 3rd and 7. This is Andre Johnson making his second catch. Picks up 4 on the play. Shy of a first down. He's up to the 47-yard line. And they're going to punt.
It's the rare 3 and out for the Houston Texans. Remember, last year they led the league in time of possession as the #1 ball control team in football. The Titans were dead last, and right now the Titans have had more plays and had the ball longer than the Houston Texans on offense.
Darius Raynaud will get the Shane Leckler punt. Back home in Texas after all those years in Oakland. Boy waved his arm, and you can see him field the ball. He was hit by Bryce McCain, and down he goes at about the 7-yard line on a 46-yard punt by Leckler. So the Titans and their offense back on the field when we come back. Look good on their first drive, a touchdown pass. We're tied at 7. No Ed Reed yet for the Texans.
Turned 35 this week, or to sit this one out, still nagged by that hip injury.
Had surgery back on April 30th, 1st and 10 after the punt. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It was Watt who throws him for a loss of a couple on the play. And he'll be back inside the 5. And coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join J.B. Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for a preview of the Manning Bowl, the Broncos and the Giants, and all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up next on the Verizon Halftime Report from our CBS studios in New York. Here is a 2nd and 12, and Battle is in. Jackie upended by Cushing, who comes flying in there and then finished off on the play. A gain of a yard up to the 6.
Now you see why they want to put a body on J.J. Watt and Brian Cushing.
Yes.
Because if you block Cushing, Watt makes the play, as we saw the first down. And then if you block Watt, Cushing's knifing in to make the play. How can you get both of them blocked on the same play? That's the only chance the Titans have of making plays on offense.
Third and 11. Into the nickel. Walker with time from Warmack, going deep, and he had Britt, who was in a foot race with Manning and Joseph. It's incomplete. They got a punt. 3 and out for the Titans.
They go more zone than man-to-man, and Manning, of course, allowed Britt to get a step on him. Jonathan Joseph, he allowed Britt to get beyond him as well. I thought they had an opportunity.
What'd you just call him?
Called him JoJo. That's
your buddy. You should probably tell people.
A little more personal from our days in Cincinnati. Absolutely. I like him, and of course I've known him personally since his rookie years in Cincinnati.
Brett Kern will punt. John Martin is due back for the Texans. Beautiful, beautiful spot to the 44. And dancing is Martin, and then works his way as Jackie Battle is down there to meet him. A 50-yard punt, a 4-yard return. Just under 12 to play in the first half. The home opener for the Texans, tied at 7 with the Titans. Each team this afternoon scored on their opening possession. We're early in the second.
Oh, let's talk about our wisdom, because how about some of the early surprises of week 1? Reggie Bush has become an ultimate weapon in Detroit. Colin Kaepernick He led the 49ers to a third consecutive win over the Packers, and then the opening week saw the AFC North fall to 0-4 to start the season. We thought that division was going to be something special, and then the college game, well, they continue to set the leading trends in the NFL thanks to Chip Kelly. We saw some record-setting performances in week 1, and Terrell Pryor got off to a really good start, and 63 touchdown passes combined by quarterbacks in the NFL in week 1.
In this fourth possession for the Texans, and we got some bodies moving right there, and Tate was back there.
False start. Number 79 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And that's on Brandon Brooks. You know, we've talked a lot about Schaub, and he is a much talked about sports figure here in Houston. And there's always the question, do you put him in the elite category? Is he a guy that won't lose games, that maybe he can't win games? Then he proved him wrong in San Diego on Monday, coming back and winning a game.
I think you've got to put him in the elite category. You look at the numbers he's put up since he's been here with the Houston Texans, and then that 10th fourth quarter game-winning drive allows him to carry his football team when they need him the most.
Schaub on 1st and 15, Tate. Dancing out there with Akeem Ayers, who makes a very nice open field tackle and limits him to a gain of 2. But Schaub was great in that second half, and he's a guy who's had a lot of detractors here in Houston and around the NFL.
Remember that Thursday night game where Tom Brady completed 44% of his passes? Well, Matt Schaub opening week completed 75% of his passes on the road against San Diego. I just thought it was a phenomenal performance. His in week 1, I think, deserves to be on the top of the list.
And another whistle, another flag on that 2nd and 13.
Before the snap. Timeout. Houston, they're first.
Well, Gary Kubiak saw something out there that he didn't like. And he'll talk with Matt, who was Mike Vick's backup in Atlanta. They made a trade to get him, and as the team has grown, he feels he has grown.
Don't you think it was a steal by the general manager, Rick Smith, and Gary Kubiak to go ahead and get a backup quarterback from another team like Matt Schaub? They put him in an offense, they groom him, develop him. Perfect for this offense in terms of his ability to be accurate throwing the football, really good throwing the ball down the field and getting it to Andre Johnson. As we take a look at the owner, of course, Mr. Bob McNair, and to his right is Rick Smith with the binoculars eyeing the talent he's brought to this football team.
2nd down and 13 behind Tate. Thrown by Schaub. It is an incomplete pass. Schaub had the 5th best quarterback rating opening weekend, and that is not a good sight with Dwayne Brown. Now, we mentioned earlier that as these analytics groups, and this is out of Pro Football Focus, they had him as the last-ranked left tackle. He had a devil of a time with Freeney of San Diego last week, and again, that Charger game.
Yeah, but you know what? He's a Pro Bowler.
I know he is.
Pro Bowlers
that's what made him more surprising
of this offensive line, and here he is right here. Let's see what happens if someone falls on one of his legs. Usually what happens with these offensive linemen, it's going to be 74, the left guard, Wade Smith, falling on the back of the legs of Dwayne Brown.
Should be noted he was voted the best tackle in the NFL last year. Timeout. They're looking at the ankle of Dwayne Brown. All-Pro a season ago. Taking his place will be Ryan Harris. 3rd and 13 for Schaub. You see the empty backfield. Good time. On the money. Caught by Andre Johnson, working on Jason McCourty. He picks up 17 on 3rd and 13. They'll put the ball at the Titans, 39.
That was an elite throw by Matt Schaub. Look at the clean pocket. Look at the protection, and watch him drive the ball to the outside to Andre Johnson. Working in that bunch formation. They move him around in so many different places. They can get the matchup advantage. And you can see Jason McCourty one-on-one against Andre Johnson. Can't win.
Tate in the backfield, 1st and 10. Oh, he slipped through the grasp of Casey. He was then brought down by Patoa Tua. It is a gain of a yard, and he's at the 38.
Oh, Ben Tate does a phenomenal job of getting away from Jarrell Casey, who I thought had him cornered in the backfield.
Looked like it, you're right.
His ability to press to the line of scrimmage and use his speed to get away from the 300-pound Jarrell Casey allowed that play to have a positive gain. He should have been tackled in the backfield. Look at his yards per carry, the most since 2001.
2nd down, 9. On a crossing pattern. That's Andre Johnson, who is hit on the play by Bernard Pollard, who brings a little bit of attitude to the secondary of the Titans. It is a gain of 6 to the 31.
Yeah, Bernard Pollard. Watch him come up and knife at the legs of Andre Johnson. He's got great respect for his former teammate here in Houston. And they have a lot of respect for Pollard. They all talked about him as raising the level of competitiveness in practice every single day. He would go at it and jaw a lot with Arian Foster. And of course, he was real respectful always to Andre Johnson, right?
Yes, yes.
He's not the kind of guy you want to challenge on a daily basis.
Speaking of Foster, he's back in there on this 3rd down and 2. From the pistol, Schaub looking for Johnson. Broken up, almost picked off. Nice defense on the play by Jason McCourty, who is following Johnson around. Griffin came over there as well. They're going to have to settle for 3.
And what Schaub is thinking, I got man-to-man coverage against McCourty. McCourty does a good job winning the arm fight against Andre Johnson, able to keep Johnson from getting both hands extended to catch the ball. See, only one, because he has the other one clutched in his arms. Good job in one-on-one coverage by McCourty, working against the talented Andre Johnson.
Here comes Bullock trying another 50-yard field goal. He was the Luke Rosa Place Kicker Award winner. And he's going to miss this one as well.
Wow.
He's missed 2 from 50. He missed 1 from 51. He is 1 of 4 kicking field goals in his first year in the NFL. Just missing. Again, the Titans hold, and we are still tied at 7.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by oneandone.com. Pre-reserved now from over 700 new domains with oneandone.com.
There's a look at the second-year kicker, although he didn't play last year because he was on IR. Randy Bullock from Texas A&M. And 1 for 4 in his NFL debut. Missing last week, 2 50-yard misses here today. So it goes to the 40-yard line. Jake Locker, 1st down and 10. Chris Johnson. Mooney with the block. Everybody in pursuit, and then knocking him out of bounds was Jonathan Joseph at the 49 on a gain of 9 in 1 week from tomorrow. Get ready for a new thriller from executive producer Jerry Bruckheimer. Dylan McDermott, Tony Collette star in Hostages. It premieres Monday, September 23rd, only on CBS. 2nd and 1. Chris Johnson, by the way, 10 carries and 54 yards. Here's his 11th carry. He's going to get a 1st down there, corkscrewing his way for a 1st to the 47. Solomon on a pickup of 4.
His team is still determined to run the football. They want to play ball control, keep the ball out of the hands of Matt Schaub in this potent Houston Texans offense. And there is a former offensive lineman, Hall of Famer Mike Munchak, now the head coach here. He's totally transformed this football team. Many ask, can you win playing small ball in a pass-happy National Football League?
3 defensive backs, 1st down and 10. Battle. And doesn't get very far, just a gain of 2 right there. And in the middle of that line, they had Earl Mitchell.
Getting back to the Tennessee Titans style of play, as you can see, Locker 5 of 9 so far in the game. He attempted only 20 passes last week. It was the fewest pass attempts of any quarterback in the NFL during week 1. And you have to ask, can they win games when you're running it 40 or more times and only attempting 20 passes in a game?
Still 3 defensive backs, 2nd down and 8. The block by Stewart, almost picked off. Well, it was almost picked off by Darryl Sharpton. Good to see him back. And he drops that pass, making it 3rd and 8.
And one might ask, is this why they run it so much? Because there you see, that ball should have been intercepted. It hit Sharpton right in the chest. And Locker's been known to be a little bit erratic, completing, 55% of his passes throughout his short career. So he's got to improve and make sure he's hitting his guys and not the defender.
Now they got 6 in the secondary. 3rd down and 8. They need the 38 of Houston. Battle with the block and merciless. Locker, he does this well. Chased by Cushing. Slides, looks like he's got the 1st down. Swearinger was there. A run of 9 on 3rd and 8. A 1st down for Tennessee.
Well, this is what you like about Jake Locker. His overall athleticism. He's a big, strong-armed quarterback, but look at the mobility here. He's very athletic, good footwork, and What did he tell us, Kevin? He's got to learn to listen to his feet. His feet was telling it's time to get out of there. He sensed that Brooks Reed was closing in from the back door, was able to get out of the pocket just in time to elude the pass rush.
Johnson is in on 1st and 10. And going inside, Cushing got a shoulder pad on him, limiting him to a gain of 2 to the 35. Jake Locker was the 8th overall pick out of Washington. 3rd year in the NFL. He left the Husky program as the number 2 all-time leading passer.
Came in at the same time of quarterbacks like Andy Dalton and Blaine Gabbert and Christian Ponder. We're still waiting for that quarterback class to emerge. Dalton, I think, has done so in Cincinnati.
You just saw his record as a starter, 2nd down and 8. Johnson again. Warmack with the block. Picking and poking his way, and not a whole lot there. Manning had the first hand on him, and a flag is thrown after the gain of 2 down to about the 33, 34. Locker threw a touchdown pass of 6 yards to right. Graham caught a 1-yard touchdown pass from Schaub.
Holding. 82 of the offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
That's Delaney Walker.
It's going to be on Delaney Walker. Of course, he's been known to block, but every now and then, right there, you get those hands on the outside of the shoulders of Whitney Merciless, they're going to call you for holding. Those hands have to be working inside, even if you're grabbing cloth. As long as the hands are inside, they're not going to call you for holding.
Boy, he creates some mismatches. As you said before, he's so versatile.
Absolutely, as a blocker, pass catcher, and a runner.
It's 2nd down and 18. Chris Johnson. Joseph brings him down. There was a nice block right there by Michael Roos. It's a gain of 8, bringing up 3rd and 10 for the Titans.
A good tackle by Jonathan Joseph. Not only good pass cover guy, but willing to stick his head in there and make the tackle with his shoulder. Good safe tackle.
He was a Pro Bowler last year, 2nd time. But he was injured a lot last season, too. He was never really fully healthy, he thought, for the Texans.
Yeah, battled some injuries, but still fought through it to play well in this secondary. He's taken the secondary up to the next level, and that's why they're eager to get Ed Reed on the field to get those two in the same secondary playing together.
Tennessee has taken a timeout, 5.5 to play in the half. Tied at 7. Back here in Houston, where the Titans used to be the Oilers. The Titans and Oilers share the same record book. So, yes, Earl Campbell was a part of this franchise long ago, certainly, but they're on the same pages. 3rd and 9 after the timeout taken by Locker and Tennessee. They need the 27. Johnson in field goal range now, and upended on the play by Kareem Jackson. He is head over heels to about the 21-yard line, make it the 31-yard line on a gain of 5.
These corners can tackle here in Houston. Look at Kareem Jackson, knife in underneath Michael Roos, and you've got to be able to get underneath, because if Roos blocks him, and Chris Johnson's still running with the football, they're going to attempt a field goal here, Kevin.
So here is Rob Baronis, the 3rd most accurate kicker in NFL history. He's especially good from long range, from 40 yards and more. The 3rd most accurate kicker. A 48-yard drive for a lead. And Baronis is no good. Missing from 48 after he was 3 of 3 last week. We're still tied at 7.
Normally he's good under 50 yards, but I think you've got to ask yourself, and I know points come at a premium when you're playing against this Houston Texans offense, but do you want to give the ball with so much time left here, with just over 4 minutes left in the first half, do you give the ball back to Matt Schaub with this kind of field position? I know Mike Munchak was hoping to get points on the board, but now he puts his defense in a difficult position.
Good news for the Texans, because Dwayne Brown is back out there at the left tackle. Foster in the backfield, Arian Foster. Brown with the block. Brought down by Alteron Werner on a gain of 4. And coming up next, it's the first time that both starting quarterbacks threw for 400 yards the previous week, and they're both named Manning. Peyton for the Broncos, Eli for the Giants. That's coming up after this game, or the Jaguars taking on the Raiders. Check local listings for the game in your area. On second down and 6. On with the block. Foster is on the loose with a first down run brought down by the Pro Bowler Michael Griffin. A gain of 10, a first down for Houston.
All right, just the patience of Arian Foster. He glides along, and we talk about being slow to the hole but fast through it. I think he epitomizes that. Just his timing and feel for the running game and how to set up blockers really does allow this run game for the Texans to operate at a high level. He doesn't like coming off.
No, he does not, does he? Tate is in. Another Brown block. And Tate with the call, and the tackle made by Zach Brown. It's a gain of 5 to the 42. Yeah, if a look is worth 1,000 words, man, that says it all.
Well, you got to consider that, Arian Foster has averaged 371 touches of the football for each of the last 3 years. And if you're Gary Kubiak, if you got a player like Ben Tate, why wouldn't you at least spread the workload out amongst both guys?
Couple tight ends, second down and 5. Tate, beautiful tackle behind the line of scrimmage, and there's Zach Brown again. He's out of North Carolina.
Well, he told you to keep an eye on him, Kevin. That was a phenomenal play. Watch him just come knife right in, shoots the gap. Good feel for the run game and where to fit in terms of the run defense. He's able to make plays like that. That's why this defense was so good 1 week ago, is shutting down the Pittsburgh Steelers running game.
No gain on that play. Foster is back in. And Foster, again, the reason why they're going back and forth with him is because he had back and calf issues and did not play in the preseason. He admits he's not 100%. Foster does. 3rd and 5. Down the sideline and out of the reach of the twisting DeAndre Hopkins, and there goes a flag. Little shove across the way by Cody Sensabaugh.
Yeah, they're going to get Sensabaugh working against the rookie DeAndre Hopkins.
Or was it on Hopkins? It may be on the rookie Hopkins.
Well, the rookie got a little eager there, trying to find the football and get into position to make a catch.
There's no pass interference on the play as the ball is uncatchable. 4th down.
And they're going to punt.
Rarely do you see that one, but just good defense on the play. Hopkins expected to win in those situations.
Well, here comes Shane Leckler in the game, and what a nice addition he's been. A Texas kid. He was a Texas high school quarterback. His dad was a football player at Baylor. His mom was a point guard at Baylor. He spent all those years in Oakland. Raynaud lets it bounce him back to him and into the end zone. But Leckler can certainly change the game. He had some big punts last week in San Diego, 2 important punts.
This guy is one of the best that we've ever seen. 5 years, he's averaged 40-plus net yards on punts.
Well, coming this fall, Academy Award winner Robin Williams returns to television in The Crazy Ones. It premieres Thursday, September 26th, and it's only on CBS. And we got another look at Robin there at the very end.
I love him, though. Keeps it lively, doesn't he?
He does. We've had missed field goals, 2 of them by the Texans, 1 by the Titans. Here we go, 1st down and 10 with Chris Johnson in the backfield. And he gets a block from Warmack, but does not stop Cushing. Boy, is he on it. And Brooks Reed there, too. Loss of 2 on the play to the 18-yard line.
Brooks Reed contains the ball, and then Brian Cushing is able to shoot the gap to make the tackle in the backfield. Great play by Kubiak's defense.
We're at the 2-minute warning in Houston. Well, you've heard of Hat Head. That's going to be Tub Head. That's what you do when the popcorn is gone.
With butter.
Yeah, with butter. Mom's going to like that. 2nd down and 12. 2-minute warning and 2 timeouts for Tennessee. Chris Johnson cutting back nicely. And then a good tackle by Reed. And the gain out to about the 21-yard line on a pickup of 3. And a timeout taken by Houston.
7-7 as we hit the 2-minute mark in the first half. This is the game that the Tennessee Titans want to play. Small ball. Keep the score down. It plays to their favor. You're keeping Gary Kubiak's offense, which in my mind is one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL, especially over the last few years, to keep them down to 7 points at home in their season opener here in Houston. I think is a phenomenal job by this Tennessee Titans defense.
Jake Locker so far 5 of 10 with the touchdown pass. He's got it 3rd and 8. They need the 30. Quickly outside, Kendall Wright getting a good block from the wide receiver Kenny Britt that opens him up. He's brought down by Watt and by Swearinger. It's a pickup of 11 on a catch and run. The flag is down on that 3rd and 8. A pickup of 11 right now. But there are 2 flags down, both about a foot apart.
Holding number 18 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
They want him to cut down on penalties. You know, he had 2 penalties last week, did Britt against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's holding on the outside against Bryce McCain. Number 21, the defender. See, right there is where you get your holding call. Got the hands on the outside of those shoulders. See, right there. At some point, you have to let go and allow the runner to make a play by himself.
Well, the mistakes are sabotaging him. 3rd and 13 now for Locker. 6 in the secondary for the tail. It's through his hands. Jumping on the ball. 4th down. The pressure up the middle. The snap on the play. Not all that good from Rob Turner. And they're going to be at their 5 and they're going to have to punt.
It'll hit him right in the hands, Kevin. He just took his eyes off this
sure
one.
did.
He really did. And look at J.J. Watt pressuring, nearly coming up with the ball there. The lack of focus by Jake Locker on that play. You've got to keep your eyes locked in under center.
I'd lose my focus as well if Watt were on the other side.
He's been known to make a few quarterbacks lose their focus.
Absolutely. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB and company for the preview of the Manning Bowl. The Broncos and the Giants coming up after this, plus all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report from New York. So Watt putting his fingerprints on this game. He's had a deflection, his 2nd in as many games. He's had a sack, and he's causing all kinds of problems on that line of scrimmage.
Oh, he plays with such hustle and in great leverage. He's always active, and no one has more fun playing football than J.J. Watt.
Brett Kern, who's battling a calf, will punt in the shadow of his own goalposts. Keyshawn Martin back at the 42-yard line for the Texans. Kern high with good hang time and under the boundary, and that's not going to allow a return. And we've got Houston out of timeouts and on the clock 1:35 with which to work. So here's Matt Schaub, and we will see what's up his sleeve here in the final moments, and we'll have Foster in the backfield for a Gary Kubiak coach team that is 1-0 coming in. A huge comeback in San Diego last week in the opener.
And their 6th possession of the game, 1:35 to go. This is where I think when you pick up the tempo, we've seen that with teams in the NFL beginning to play fast. Houston doesn't do a whole lot of that, but I think it would certainly help them at a moment like this.
From midfield, first, here comes the blitz by Fokun. It's intercepted on the play, and it's picked off by Pollard, the ex-Texan. He gets a block and works his way down, and what a big defensive play for the Tennessee Titans. And turned in by Bernard Pollard, who played for the Super Bowl champion Ravens a season ago.
Sometimes the defense has to turn up the tempo. Watch the all-out blitz. Watch this. Pressure in the face of Schaub. You pick off all tips and overthrows, and Pollard comes up with it. And if he doesn't go out of bounds at that last step, he's going to run it back for a touchdown. Look at that. Pressure right in the face of Schaub. And then he takes a lick right there.
He sure did, and I think it was thrown by Foku.
Yeah, and Akeem Ayers provided the initial pressure, forcing the high overthrow into the arms of Bernard Pollard.
How about Pollard? Led the Ravens in tackles a season ago. Schaub with his first interception against the Titans in 4 games. He also threw one last week, so he's thrown 2 in the first 2 games of the season. And the first turnover of this game, as you see.
We're reviewing the previous play.
And perhaps the spot.
Perhaps, because it looked like a clean interception there.
You want to see where he stepped out of bounds. Bernard Pollard. Originally a Kansas City 2nd-round pick. He's in. And look at that.
He's still in.
He sure is. He's keeping his balance.
He's finally out right there.
Very nice return.
Really good play. Get pressure from Akeem Ayers. number 56, the interception by Pollard. Mike Munchak's defense turned up the pressure. They were going to force the issue on that play. And now I think that's some of the influence of Greg Williams, who comes over to join the Tennessee Titans along with their defensive coordinator Jerry Gray. And Munch told us that, they were very familiar with Greg, who had served as a coordinator here previously, and they felt very comfortable bringing him into the fold. And he's had an impact on this defense in the early going of the season.
He brings some attitude, and Pollard said one of the deciding factors of him coming to Tennessee.
Ruling on the field is confirmed. The interceptor did step out of bounds exactly where the ball is spotted. First down, Tennessee.
Like I said, a former Houston Texan who had 28 starts here over a couple of seasons. Happy to come back. A 32-yard interception return, which now gives Locker and his offense 1st and 10 with 2 timeouts at the 23 of Houston. Good block by the tight end Stevens, but here they come up the middle. Cushing, Smith, an avalanche of Texans. It's the 3rd sack on the Tennessee quarterback today.
Wade Phillips answers Jerry Gray's ability to blitz the quarterback and say, well, we can come after your quarterback too. And even the mobile Jake Locker can't elude the talents of Brian Cushing. Look, they just swarm right in, and Locker's forced to eat it.
Hey, Andy, alert it. Go!
2nd down, 19. Chris Johnson going up the middle. Cushing there to meet him again. The former defensive rookie of the year who led the team in tackles in San Diego. It's a gain of a yard. 3rd and 18 at the 31. Timeout taken by Tennessee.
Cushing is phenomenal. He's a 3-down linebacker, Kevin. We saw him blitz the pass. Now he blitzes the run. Look at that. Meeting Chris Johnson right in the hole. No yards after contact when Cushing's closing in on you.
We talked to Brian the other day here in Houston. He says the one thing that Wade Phillips does for players like myself is he gives us a lot of freedom to make our own choices, our own reads on the field.
And they tailor a lot of the things to the player's ability. And Cushing is an excellent blitzing linebacker. They bring him 2 plays in a row. He rewards the coach by making the play. And I think you see that a lot with J.J. Watt, moving him around, knowing he can play inside, he can play outside. That's what they mean by tailoring the system to the talent of the players.
After the Titan timeout, now 3rd and 18. Locker reeled in by Nate Washington, who was hit on the play by Kareem Jackson. It is only a gain of 3. And as the clock continues to tick and Houston out of timeouts, here comes Rob Baronis on the field. Cushing with a couple of nice plays on the defensive series.
I thought the defense played well in terms of their ability to pressure up front, coverage on the back end. Kareem Jackson is one of the most improved players on this entire defense. Lots of playmakers.
Well, Baronis, he wants a timeout. Looks like Mike Munchak does. You don't see this very often when the guy that's going to kick has his coach call the timeout, but that's exactly what's happened. He missed a 48-yarder before, did Rob Baronis. Final timeout is taken here.
Look, he's going to wait. He's waiting.
It's like they're icing their own kicker.
Yeah.
I don't.
There's other guys yelling something that they don't like. And so they're going to communicate that to the coach. The coach is going to call a timeout.
He's saying, what in the world are we
He's like, why are we called the timeout?
That's our guy.
And he has to trust his coaches to communicate something they're seeing. And they were able to communicate it to Mike Munchak, and that's why he used the timeout.
I don't know if they may have been a guy short. I didn't see him add anybody else out there.
I do know this. Baronis missed the kick.
He did.
So won't come back to haunt him.
This is a 47-yarder. Rob Baronis, 9th-year player, one-time Pro Bowl. The hold from the punter, Kern. Bo Brinkley will get the long snap and what will be the final play of the half for the lead, and he got it. From 47 yards away, the interception by Pollard, and the Titans cash in. They don't get 7, but 3, and their first lead of 10-7 over the Houston Texans, and I think this score is going to surprise some people around the country here.
Small ball. That's what the Tennessee Titans want to play, keeping the score down and keeping Houston out of the end zone.
That's the end of the first half. We're back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station as you're watching the NFL on CBS. Tate, a great block and off to the races. Right, touchdown! He beats McCain. We're back in Houston, Texas, and nothing says NFL halftime like Vanilla Ice.
All right, stop.
He was good. He was absolutely good. All right, now time to take a look at the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam, and that was a nice pickoff by Pollard.
Well, Pollard has just done a really good job of creating the turnover and setting up a score just before halftime, and it really has allowed the Titans to take the lead in this ball game. They're really just slowing down the game, playing small ball. It's their style of play. They want to keep the score down to give themselves a chance to win it in the end.
Matt Schaub throwing that pick. He's now thrown 2 in 2 games. Where's the second half going here?
Well, I think if you're Matt Schaub in the Houston Texans, you've got to get this offense going. You've got to be able to create big plays in the passing game. It starts with protection from Matt Schaub, and then defensively, they've got to go out and put their offense on the short field by forcing Jake Locker and company to turn the ball over as well.
Raynaud is back, and there is Bullock, who has missed a couple of field goals today for the Houston Texans, both of 50 yards. So his psyche is something to keep track of here in the second half, and we are underway from beautiful Reliance Stadium. Touchback, good distance right there, out to the 20-yard line with the touchback, and through 30 minutes of football, here are some of our numbers.
Neither team has been particularly good on third down. Now, you take away the 60-yard run by the Houston Texans on that very first possession by Ben Tate, and you would say that the Titans' run defense has been pretty good. Their ability to take the ball away, and 2 missed field goals by the Houston Texans, I think, sort of belies the score, and it's the reason why they trail early in the game.
It is 1st and 10, and this is Chris Johnson. Good block by Warmack, who's had a nice game for a second consecutive week. It's a pickup of 5. Solomon, Tennessee had 17.5 minutes of possession. They did not turn it over, and they had almost 100 rushing yards.
You can see they only had to punt it twice. They did get the field goal, and of course, they went for it on 4th down unsuccessfully, but they've been managing to just really keep the ball away and out of the hands of Matt Schaub and Arian Foster and away from Andre Johnson.
2nd down and 5. Levitri trying to throw a block, and Merciless there, Sharpton there, no gain on the play. That's a rising player in the NFL, Whitney Merciless, who is a terrific player.
I think you said it, Kevin. We talk about so many of the other playmakers of J.J. Watt, Brian Cushing, and Jonathan Joseph on this defense. Whitney Merciless, as you saw in that play, he holds down the point really well. He's good in terms of pass coverage. He's excellent at blitzing as well. They ask him to do a lot of things, but he's another emerging star on this defense.
6 in the secondary, 3rd down and 5 for Jake Locker. Stewart the block, up the middle they come. He got it away. It was caught at the 28. It's a gain of 3. Kendall Wright was the one to get it. A couple yards shy of a 1st down. Wright had the touchdown reception in the first half.
Oh, watch J.J. Watt. He's trying to loop. He's stunning around, coming into the face of Locker. It was a pressure package forcing Locker to get rid of the ball quickly. Did complete it, but not enough for a 1st down.
Watt had a very good game against San Diego last week. Keyshawn Martin is back there. Former high school quarterback in Westland, Michigan. Went to Michigan State. Brett Kern to bunt for the Tennessee Titans. Fair catch at the 33, 38-yarder. Here comes Matt Schaub and the Texan offense down by 3. Suspended by the commissioner in the NFL because of Bountygate while he was in New Orleans, sitting out last year, hired in January by the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, he paid his price, but he's got a lot to contribute to the National Football League, and I think for the players on this defense in Tennessee.
It's Foster on 1st and 10. Wrapped up and taken down that time by Derek Morgan. Had 6 sacks a year ago to lead this team, throwing Foster for a loss of 3. We talked to Mike Munchak about this guy who's got a great reputation in the NFL for defense. They said he had a long talk with the commissioner, Roger Goodell, to see where he would fit and if he could join the team.
Well, and the commissioner really gave his blessings to the Tennessee Titans to bring Greg Williams back to this team. Mike Munchak said it took about a month in terms of the process, but he and Jerry Gray, I think, combined to put together a really good defense.
2nd down and 13. Foster. It was a screen pass, but all of his guys fell, and he was then hit by LeVar Edwards and brought down. Wow. Not a whole lot there, and it's a gain of 6.
Well, they had it blocked very well initially. I thought had Foster stayed outside, he'd have had more yards, but he stayed. Look, he'll cut it up right here. Well, I think he saw that Algeron Werner was coming in from the outside, so I'm mistaken. His vision's better than mine on that play. Did the right thing, cutting it up. Just well defended at the 2nd level by the Titans defensively.
It was Antonio Johnson and not Edwards. It's 3rd down and 7. And Foster remains in the game. They need the 43. Here they come up the middle. Oh, out of the reach of Foster. And there with the hit, George Wilson. And it's a 3 and out for the, and here come the boos. Good defense by Tennessee. They're going to get the ball back.
Greg Williams, Jerry Gray, this defense. Look at the pressure on Chop. See, they force him into 3rd and long, and then the pressure up the middle, forced the hot throw over to Foster, and they were locked in man-to-man coverage, anticipating the throw over to the running back. So they're everywhere the Texans want to be.
Shane Leckler to punt. Reynaud is back and waving it off, and it took a great bounce, and so he's going to pick it up, and he'll try to slice and dice his way through, and he can't find much room whatsoever. Some great special teams by Justin Tuggle. 61-yard punt, 4-yard return.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Pizza Hut. Make it great. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
Texans just punted. 61-yarder, 57 net by Leckler now from the 7-yard line. 1st and 10 for Walker. 8 of 13 thrown today. This is Johnson. Merciless was there, also getting hit by Earl Mitchell with a gain of a yard. And while we got a chance, wanted to take a moment to send our thoughts and prayers out to the NFL Today's Jason Lockenfora and his wife Lauren today. Lauren was the victim of a hit-and-run accident near their home this weekend. Everyone here at CBS wishes Lauren a very speedy recovery, and our thoughts are with them. 2nd down and 9. Johnson again. Nothing there. Brooks Reed with a stop and a loss of a yard. Back to the 7. Make it the 6.
And a pass-happy NFL where quarterbacks are putting up those eye-popping numbers that we talked about. This is a slugfest in the AFC South between 2 really good defenses. We talked to you about what Greg Williams and Jerry Gray are doing on defense, and Wade Phillips, his defense is really keeping his team in it until their offense wakes up.
6 in the secondary, 3rd down and 10. Little high and catchable, looking for Kendall Wright, who led this team in receptions a season ago with 64. It's the 3rd time today. Kern is going to have to punt out of his own end zone. Locker comes up empty that time.
Well, Locker had to get rid of that one because the stunts and the games they're running up front on this defensive line for Houston, they're going to get to him, forcing the high throw and just good coverage on the back end. They can make a play in special teams and maybe set the table for Schaub to have better field position.
Brett Kern last season set franchise records for gross and net. Setting up the return, another beauty by Kern. And again, keeping it out of the reach of Martin. Out of bounds, but good field position coming up for Schaub and the Texan offense, a 48-yarder. Couple Hall of Famers talking right there. This team, those guys and the rest of the organization trying to rebuild this roster to be more physical, more aggressive in the offseason.
And it's a mindset where they don't mind playing in a 10-7 ball game. And if patience and frustration and all those things come into play, you might say that the Titans right now are winning the battle.
Tate is in, the fake to him. This is where Schaub is so good. Look at the time with the play action, with the wobbly throw, and it's a catch by Johnson. He works on Werner. It's a gain of 13. It's a first down to the Tennessee 42.
Wow, just watch Andre Johnson. First of all, it's a bootleg. He comes across. Werner picks him up, but then watch him uncover right here. The extra time given to the quarterback, Schaub, allows Johnson to uncover, come back to the ball, and Schaub sticks it in there for the first down.
Johnson just passed Muhsin Muhammad for number 24, all-time receiving in the history of the NFL. It's a 1st and 10. Tate remains. Schaub, second option. The rookie Hopkins in a thicket of defenders. Foku is there. An 11-yard pickup to the 31, another first down.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 92. Hit to the head and neck area. 15 yards added to the end of the play. First down.
And that's some of the problem of being sometimes too aggressive. Patoa Tua.
Yeah, Patoa Tua. He's coming after the quarterback, and that penalty's going to hurt. Right now, the Texans are on the move. They're making plays on the early downs, Kevin. They're avoiding the third long. That's the reason I think this offense is really bogged down since that first possession of the game. On this possession, they've completed 2 passes on first down plays. And now they're starting to get some momentum and help with the penalty.
Schaub on 1st and 10. Tate with the block. They come up the middle. They go to the end zone. It's over the head of the tight end, Garrett Graham. They had Griffin back there. My goodness, they were coming up with a rocket, and Foku was leading the way.
Oh, watch Foku come around on this play, and he's going to just come right through. Look at the shot he puts on Matt Schaub. Well, he talked about he loves to play fast, physical, and downhill. He came downhill and just road graded Matt Schaub.
It's not like this guy has been a big-time player. He was drafted in the 7th round by Philly. Then he went to Indy and comes as an unrestricted agent from the Colts to the Titans. 2nd down and 10. Schaub over airs, caught by Tate, blocked by Daniels, and a gain to about the 12. And all kinds of guys making the stop. Patoa Tua right there on a gain of 4. And the catch and run by Ben Tate.
You love the speed and reaction by the Titans defense on that play. You got the sense that Houston had numbers out in front of Tate, but their ability for Greg Williams to swarm and close defensively limited the gain on the play. And now 3rd and 6 is where Greg Williams has been good at getting the Texans defense, or offense I should say, in 3rd and long, and they've struggled to convert.
They're in the nickel, and offensively Foster is in 3rd and 6. Schaub to the end zone. What a catch! That is a touchdown. What a grab by Owen Daniels. His first reception today is good for 6.
They scored now. What's that? 25 consecutive red zone possessions. And we told you they want to go to the tight ends in the red zone. And they get Daniel matched up against Pollard, former teammates here in Houston. And what a throw from Schaub, and even better catch from Owen Daniels. One-on-one. Daniels, what a play after 2 touchdown receptions in their Week 1 contest against San Diego. This one was phenomenal.
The 2-time Pro Bowler pulls it in, and Pollard was defending. In fact, Pollard told us you got to keep an eye on those tight ends. Here's the extra point, Bullock. And back on top, the Houston Texans, and 7:46 in the 3rd. Matt Schaub has thrown his 2nd touchdown pass today. Owen Daniels from 12.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Reliability you can believe in. That's powerful. And by Kelley Blue Book. Everything you need to make a smart new car decision is at KBB.com.
Matt Schaub has just thrown his second touchdown pass today, and they didn't take a whole lot of time, too, after their defense has started to really tighten the screws here late in the first half and here in the beginning of the second.
Well, he was stellar on that drive, particularly on first down where they begin to move the chains.
Reyna lets this go out of bounds. Touchback to the 20. This week, don't miss the show that's in a league by itself with the guys who take on all 32 teams and each other every week. James Brown, Phil Simms, Chris Collinsworth. With the artistry of NFL films and the chemistry of the guys, an unbeatable combination. Catch Inside the NFL Wednesday at 9 only on Showtime. Yep, right there is the proof. The defense of Houston has got him in a vice grip. Battle is in the backfield. 1st and 10 for Walker from his 20. What? His second sack, the 4th by the Texans today. It's back to the 13 on a loss of 7.
Well, you get the sense that the momentum has been building for this defense. They continue to live on the other side of the line of scrimmage and in the face of Jake Locker. If it's not J.J. Watt, it's Brian Cushing. But they're starting to chip away at this offensive line and get to the quarterback on a consistent basis.
Watt's playing with a slight quad issue. And it hasn't affected his performance. 2nd down, 17. Shaky battle from Houston, Texas. Right around his ankles he found Cushing. It's a gain of 2 to the 15-yard line.
This Texas defense has been relentless in this game, getting after Jake Locker. J.J. Watt has made his presence felt on the football field. And then Brian Cushing. Big plays in week 1 and still even more big plays this week. Whether he's blitzing the quarterback on a pass play or blitzing the run, slamming the door shut, making plays for their coordinator, Wade Phillips.
It's 3rd and 15. They need the 30-yard line. Running for his life, merciless. Locker knocked away. Kareem Jackson. They were going for the wide receiver, Kendall Wright. The 3rd consecutive 3-and-out for Tennessee.
Now, we talk all day about J.J. Watt and Cushing, and I told you Whitney Merciless is another emerging star. His ability to come off the right edge and just track and harass Jake Locker, providing pressure, nearly caused an interception for the secondary of Houston.
John Martin was number 5 last year in returns and is back inside the 40. Another punt coming up for Brett Kern. And another good one. Martin, the bounds. Keyshawn knocked away right there. So again, good beginning field position with a 14-10 lead. It's not too late to sign up and play NFL.com fantasy football. Get free mobile apps and exclusive instant highlights. Sign in and play for free at NFL.com/fantasy. Kevin Harlan, Solomon Wilcots, our CBS crew at Reliant in Houston today. After the punt by Tennessee in the 3rd consecutive 3-and-out with Tate in the backfield. Shot 1st and 10. Good block by Tate on Patoa Tua, and that is an incomplete pass over the fullback's head, Greg Jones, and a flag was thrown where that block was made.
Yeah, it was more of a tackle by Ben Tate.
I should have said that.
44 of the offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
He's putting his arms up like, what do you mean? What do you want from me? Why don't you just tackle Patoa Tua? Big guy. Look at this tackle by Ben Tate. Now, that's pass protection, all right, but of the illegal variety.
Ben Tate played at Auburn. Before that, he was the high school player of the year in the state of Maryland. Running back, record setter in that state. Now splitting time with Arian Foster here in Houston.
Kevin, at this point in the ballgame, neither quarterback has passed for more than 100 yards.
Schaub, 13 to 21. It's 1st and 20. Andre Johnson quickly hauled down that time by Akeem Ayers. It's a gain of 4 as we gain New York and James Brown.
Kevin, coming up for most of you, it'll be Manning Bowl 3.
That's the CEO, JB, headed to work as his game faced on, looking to cash in on that investment. And that's baby bro, Eli Manning. Should be a shootout today. Big game.
Both have delivered some pretty good dividends. Back to Kevin Harlan and Solomon Wilcots.
Boomer Esiason and I broadcast that Baltimore-Denver game with a 7-touchdown throwing performance by Peyton Manning here on 2nd and 16. It's a catch made by Graham. He was brought down on the play by Zach Brown. It's a gain of 11, bringing up 3rd and 5. And the ball up to the 43. What I was going to say is in that game, Peyton Manning, and you watched it in the film work at NFL Network, he was absolutely sensational.
He was phenomenal. You know, he's going up against little brother later today here on CBS. But Peyton has always told us that the first graduate of any of those young quarterbacks from the Manning Passing Academy was little brother Eli Manning. So this one could come back to haunt him. He schools Eli. Eli can come back and shred his defense.
It's 3rd and 5. Foster is in. Pocket crumbles, and he has a well-covered receiver downfield looking for Andre Johnson. Two-time Pro Bowler Michael Griffin is right there. And it's a 3-and-out, and Houston's got a punt.
Michael Griffin comes a long way on this one. Watch him just gets right over, and look at him bat that one down. It's just a great read. It was a single wide receiver route, and he was able to lock in on Andre Johnson, understanding that on critical moments, critical downs like 3rd down, that's where Schaub wants to go with the ball.
Leckler to punt, and he has had a terrific afternoon, much like his Monday night in Southern California from the 11 arena. Blocks and then Swearinger jumping on his back and bringing him down near the 19-yard line on a 45-yard punt and a 7-yard return. Well, not everyone can be a quarterback, so get inside the minds of those who can. Join Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, and Steve Berline on NFL Monday QB. It comes your way tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
They'll talk about Tom Brady in that Thursday night game and the receivers not being maybe where Brady expected them to be.
Outside right. There's a block by Roos, a tackle by KO, and a gain of 7 on 1st down to the 27-yard line.
Well, this game's going to come down to which defense makes a mistake that allows a runner or one of these wide receivers to slip through the cracks and maybe make a big play. And if you're Jake Locker, just protect the football and be patient against this defense.
Quincy! Go!
On 2nd down and 3, it's dropped.
Wow.
Britt at the 31, the coverage by Cushing.
Well, Britt's got to make that play. Yeah, it was on the back shoulder, and that's because the defender had knifed in front of him. You got to understand, the quarterback can't always put the ball where you expect it. You've got to be able to haul it in. Britt's got a big body. He was able to keep the defender away from the ball, but he's got to be able to come down with it.
Each team getting a touchdown in their first possession today. Graham, a 1-yard touchdown pass from Schaub. Wright, a 6-yard touchdown pass from Locker. 3rd and 3. From the 26. Walker the block. And, the receiver was going one way and the pass was going the other on a shot intended downfield for Washington. It's incomplete.
Kareem Jackson could have had himself an interception. Certainly a miscue on the route being run by Nate Washington. Look at that. If you time that jump with 2 hands, you make a catch. If you come down with it, you may score a touchdown. But clearly a miscue between the quarterback, Jake Locker, and his intended receiver, Nate Washington.
What about the defense? The 5th consecutive Tennessee drive where the Houston defense has not allowed a Tennessee first down.
And that's where both punters have been really instrumental at flipping field position. I would have to say Shane Leckler right now winning the battle of field position.
It's Kern to punt to Martin. This way, there's a flag quickly thrown from the 18-yard line. Out of bounds at about the 27-yard line. So we have one official that has thrown a hat, meaning a guy's out of bounds. And Jeff Triplett working his way downfield after a 7-yard return and a 54-yard punt, which is the 4th consecutive punt by Tennessee here in the second half.
Lots of communication on trying to figure this one out.
You know, it's interesting. Last week, Tennessee ran the ball at the 34 minutes time of possession. The rest of the league was going crazy with, 63 touchdown passes and, record numbers through the air.
During the kick, holding, number on the return team. 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick, first down.
He didn't say who, and so we're left to guess. Here is our question of the week. Who will go from worst to first in the NFL? If I had to give a guess, and I'll start.
I know you're going with.
I'm going to go New Orleans in the NFC South.
I think it's always a good bet that one of those teams in the NFC South, that's where it typically happens. We've seen Carolina do it. We've seen New Orleans do it. We've seen Tampa do it even in the past.
It's happened 10 straight years.
Yeah, and you don't, Kansas City is going to be one of those teams, I think, contending for a wild card spot, but you don't expect them to win the AFC West over Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos.
Watt has had a big day with a couple of sacks, Solomon, a deflection as well.
You don't think Detroit could topple your Packers in the NFC North?
We'll find out. Here's Foster on 1st and 10. There he's breaking tackles. And he's in the secondary, and Griffin will usher him out of bounds at about the 18-yard line, a gain of 9. Let's go to James Brown with no regard for human life. Shannon Sharp.
Fly with the Eagles, Shannon.
Coach, they didn't listen to you. You said rotate coverage to Deshaun Jackson. They man him up. Mike Vick up top. Deshaun Jackson. 61 yards later, he's into the end zone. We have a tie ball game 2020.
Shannon, back to Kevin Harlan. Go ahead.
With no regard for mankind.
Second down and 1. And not much there. A gain of about 2 yards on the play for Foster to the 21.
I think Andy Reid would know to double Deshaun Jackson,
yes,
right?
Exactly. That's a big game for Kansas City and Arrowhead.
Very big game. Speaking of big games, the Houston Texans, at what point do they start to assert themselves? So many questions about this team. Can they be one of the contending teams for a Super Bowl in the AFC? Starts with being able to win right here at home.
1st and 10. Foster. Nice block by Brooks. Oh, a beauty. Opened the door and brought down by Pollard. A run of 14. Now Foster beginning to get the reps he so dearly wants.
Absolutely. And watch Chris Myers, number 55, on the block right there. Right downfield. He's able to cut back twice and able to find some room. Myers on the block on Foku, and then about Arian Foster taking advantage of it.
Brandon Brooks, by the way, the right guard, making his second career start today. 1st and 10. Arian Foster. Now they clog it up. Patoa Tua in there. Foku in there. It's a gain of about 1 yard, and he's up to just beyond the 35.
Everything the Texans want to do offensively really does start with their running game, and these two guys, Arian Foster, Ben Tate, already combined for over 100 yards rushing. But look at Tate, and that's why you got to keep playing him. He gets a lot of bang for the buck. Only 5 carries. It has more rushing yards than Arian Foster at this point in the ball game, even though Foster's had twice as many carries.
Tate had that 60-yard run in the very first series of the game. 2nd down and 9. Matt Schaub. Way over the head of Johnson. Boy, he had defenders in front and in back, and including on him, Jason McCourty. Incomplete, 3rd and 9.
And this is where the Titans defense has been really good against Gary Kubiak's offense, forcing them into 3rd and long. And that's where I think the Texans have struggled the most. They've only converted 3 of their 9 third down opportunities in this ball game. Once you get them in 3rd and long, it really makes it tough, because they're going to bring pressure right now after Schaub. Schaub's not going to be able to hold on to it. He's going to have to go hot read, but then he's got to be careful not to put the ball in harm's way.
Schaub, 3rd and 9.
Here's the pressure.
Brown with the block at the left tackle. Outside for Keyshawn Martin. Dancing on the wing. Holding on for dear life is Jason McCourty. A catch right there for Martin, who had 10 receptions a year ago. That's his first this season. He picks up 6. It's not enough on 3rd and 9, and they got to punt the ball.
See, when you're playing against a blitzing defense, You go 3 steps drop, you got to go hot route, and you can't get the receiver to go beyond the first down marker and get open. So you're forced to get rid of it, and this Titans defense is good enough to make the tackle before they hit the first down mark.
Here's the number 1 all-time NFL gross punter, Leckler. Reynold on the 6. Got away from the first guy down there. The first wave, that was A.J. Bouye, and it is a return of 6 after a 55-yard punt. Leckler is just so terrific in so many ways.
I told you he was winning the battle of field position. I think that's clear evidence from the punt we just saw.
6-time All-Pro. You know, they wanted to sign him a couple years ago. Then Al Davis, the late Al Davis, gave him a $4 million a year contract. He said, I'd love to come back to Texas, but I can't turn down the dough.
Did not turn down that money. He can always come home later, right? And here he is.
Here they go again from the 12. 1st and 10. Shake Locker. They're coming on the edge. They set up the screen. Warmack is out there. Levitri is out there for Chris Johnson. Flag is thrown. And Bryce McCain making the stop. Gain to about the 25. 13-yard pickup as it stands right now. If Tennessee's performance today and last week is a consistent one, this is going to be a much improved team over last year, and they're going to give a lot of people a lot of tough Sundays.
Personal foul. Offense, number 59, peel back block. Half the distance to the goal. Repeat first down. That is the end of the 3rd quarter.
That's the new center, Turner. Much to the chagrin of Mike Munchak, that's the end of the 3rd. Texans by 4. You're watching the NFL on CBS. We're going to go to the 4th quarter here, and like they did in the San Diego game, the Texan defense held San Diego without a first down the last 26 minutes of that game. They've held the Titans without a first down the last 22 and a half minutes in this game.
Well, Wade Phillips, he gets dialed in against what the offense is trying to do, and it doesn't appear as though this Titan offense has a change-up play.
1st and 16. Chris Johnson. Love watching him run. Jonathan Joseph made the stop on a gain of 9. Another flag has been thrown. Looks like a hold. It's against Tennessee.
Holding number 59 in the offense. Half the distance to the goal. Repeat first down.
You know, Turner didn't have a very good game against Pittsburgh, and he's now
struggling now. He's had consecutive penalties. This was the earlier one. Watch 59. The peel back block to the legs of J.J. Watt. That's the same one that Ndamukong Suh was, fined so heavily for as a repeat offender. But, they changed those rules in terms of the betterment safety for players, because you can really injure someone on that type of block.
On 1st and 19, Chris Johnson. Oh, they get him that time. Cushing and Earl Mitchell. They smother the back. It's a loss of 2. Back to the 2.
Oh, don't you love the way these guys play defense? Watch Cushing. I mean, he's so smart. He sees the gap, he shoots it. No one has to tell him. That's making X's and O's come alive for your defensive coordinator right there. He's got such a great sense of what he's doing on the football field. That's why he's making so many plays. You get the sense they had a player, a dynamic one, like Ed Reed to the back end of this defense to go along with Watt and Cushing. Sky's the limit.
Cushing, of course, coming back this year after the torn ACL last October. 2nd down and 20. Locker finding some room. He's got the receiver, and it's caught. And a flag. Just when it looked like there was some daylight and getting out of a hole, another flag against the Titans.
Prior to the snap, delay of game. Offense, number 10. Half the distance to the goal. Repeat 2nd down.
That is the 3rd penalty on Munchak's Titans on this drive alone.
And you have to wonder, Jonathan Joseph sort of eased up at the beginning of the play, sensing it would be dead, because it did allow for Kenny Britt to have a step on him down the field. They've got him backed up, and you got to wonder right now in a critical moment, 2nd and 21, do you drop 8 and only rush 3, or do you just come right after Jake Locker looking to make a play?
They have 4 defensive backs. It's 2nd down and 21. Chris Johnson trying to get out. He was grabbed by Mays. He is just out of the end zone, as you see, by maybe the length of a football.
It's an aggressive play call by Wade Phillips. They crowd the line. They shoot every single gap. Hit him in the backfield, can't tackle him there. The knee goes down, and the ball's yet to break the plane of the goal line. If they look at that, they may go ahead and give him the safety.
I thought he broke the plane as his knee was going down. Hey, regardless,
it's worth taking a look at it.
Yep.
Defensively.
And that's what they're going to do. Marooned right now inside their one.
Remember, he doesn't have to pass the white line. He's got to break the plane of the white line.
Houston is challenging the ruling on the field that the runner got out of the end zone with the football before being down by contact.
I thought it hit the chalk. The ball had hit the chalk before the knee had gone down.
And all it has to do is hit the, it's got to hit right there, Kevin. Oh, wow, that's going to be close. Not enough to overturn it.
Very close.
Back at Reliance Stadium, where we're waiting for the official ruling. Of course, Chris Johnson, it was ruled down at the -1 yard line as he came out of the end zone. He was hit by linebacker Joe Mays. The officials are still gathering information. I think based on what we saw, Kevin, is that he did penetrate the goal line before the knee was down. And I think they're going to uphold the call down on the field, and here we go.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The runner's knee is down, and the ball did not break the plane of the goal line coming out. Reset the game clock to 13:26. It is a safety.
Wow. Kevin, you and I, we looked at it during the break, and I got a thought that as the knee hit down, the ball had hit the plane. Boom, right there. See? Look at that. He's broken. The plane of the goal line is here. And I believe, I don't know what they were looking at, but based on what we saw there, Kevin, I don't know that you see enough to overturn it. It already had broken the plane of the goal line.
Two plays safety. You surprised they didn't put Jackie Battle back there instead of Chris Johnson to try to pound that ball out?
I think as soon as you put Jackie Battle back there, I think it sends a clear indicator to the defense that, yes, you are going to run it.
True.
However, Wade Phillips and his defensive unit was still very aggressive at blitzing all the run gaps, Cushing, Brooks Reed, and Joe Mays. I mean, there was deep penetration by Antonio Smith, who really allowed him to make the play. Yeah, and we're saying now that the entire ball has to be out, not just the front of the ball. See, they're saying now, Kevin, at the back of the ball is still inside the end zone. So the entire ball has to be out of the end zone when that knee touched down.
And it goes now to Keyshawn Martin. Finds a seam and then brought down by Sensabaugh on the special teams for the Tennessee Titans on a 19-yard return. Houston gets it up by 6 and 13:20 to play in the fourth quarter.
So in a game of small ball, Mike Munchak want to keep the score down. Has done that, limiting the Texans offense to only 14 points, but then the safety is the defense for the Texans able to put points on the board. But still within striking range if you are the Tennessee Titans. Their defense has played stellar here today, and now if you're Matt Schaub and Gary Kubiak, you've got to eat clock and put more points on the board.
Ben Tate in the backfield, first down and 10 for the Texans. Finds a seam into the secondary to the 45. Brought down by Verner. An 11-yard run by Ben Tate to New York and James Brown.
Shannon, take a look at Mike Wallace today.
One catch last week for 12 yards, 9 for $115. This 34-yarder, JB, would set up a 1-yard TD run by Charles Clay, and the Dolphins are in front, 24-20 over the Colts.
55 seconds left in the third. Back to you guys.
That's a good one, and Indy, here's a 1st and 10. Tate. And taken down at the line of scrimmage with no gain on the play. Bottom of that pile, Antonio Johnson, 2nd down and 10.
Well, still, the Tennessee Titans maintain a winning edge in time of possession. Overall total plays where they've run 52 offensive plays compared to only 45 for the Houston Texans. So this defense still ought to be well rested to a certain extent. Their offense is doing enough to keep them off the field. So when they're on the field, they've got to be able to come up with some stops and pitch a few 3 and outs to get the ball back for Munchak's offense.
Second down and 10. Shaw. Nice knock away that time by Werner. They were going for the rookie DeAndre Hopkins, who had 5 catches last week, including a 30-yarder against the Chargers.
Right, Werner just breaks on the ball really well. He does a great job of staying on the upfield shoulder of DeAndre Hopkins and knifing in at the last minute without committing the infraction and the pass interference, still able to make a play on the ball.
Werner had a pickoff last week of Roethlisberger, knocked away another one, and he was a full-time starter as the beginning of last year was getting underway. 4th-year player out of UCLA, and you can see the third down passing to Matt Schaub. He's got it 3rd and 10. He sends Foster on the move. Andre Johnson from behind, grabbed by Jason McCourty. Shy of the first down, a gain of 5 right there to the 41-yard line.
See, it was 3rd and 10, Kevin, and what Jerry Gray and Greg Williams are doing, forcing them into 3rd and long, letting them catch the ball in front of them, rallying to make the tackle, as you saw there from Jason McCourty on Andre Johnson. Now it's 4th down. It appears as though the Texans are going to go for it.
Andre Johnson, 7 receptions today, 4th and 6 for Matt Schaub.
Kubiak likes his field position, doesn't think his young kicker, who's already missed 2 of 50 yards or longer, can do it from here. And of course, Leckler with that booming leg, do you risk it going into the end zone only to get maybe a 20-yard net gain on the punt? And now we're going to get Shane Leckler, hoping he can die one inside the 10-yard line.
Offense, it's been declined. It'll still be 4th down.
They wanted to give him an extra 5 yards, and it was declined by the Titans, and now...
Smart play by the Titans. Because you know the strong leg of Leckler, he may kick it right into the end zone. If you give him more space, he can die one in there. As he's already nailed, 4 inside the 20-yard line here today.
Shane Leckler, 6-time first-team All-Pro. Reynaud turns it away. Was it saved? It looked like maybe Devere Posey threw it back in. The long snapper, John Weeks, may have it. And they say it will be at the 5.
I think it was Werner who was back to receive it. And why would he go after the ball here? And I believe, he has an opportunity because the ball wasn't necessarily down. He has an opportunity to touch it, and if he doesn't recover it, the ball still goes to the Tennessee Titans. So I think they're going to award the ball to the Tennessee Titans, even though one of their guys touched the ball and didn't recover it. The Texans never really downed it. All they did was throw it back into the field of play.
The ruling on the field is an illegal touching by the kicking team at the 1-yard line. By rule, the receivers get the option to take the ball at the illegal touch spot. They have elected to do that. It'll be 1st and 10, Tennessee.
There you go. Complicated rule. But what he's saying is, see right here, okay, see, he throws it back inside. Now he was saying that, okay, you can go ahead and touch it because the ball has not been down. And right now they're saying it's an illegal touch by one of the Texans. They're going to give the ball to the Tennessee Titans.
They're reviewing this with Jeff Triplett. Either way, wherever they spot the ball, Shane Leckler will have his 3rd punt inside the 10-yard line today here in Houston.
Okay, watch Devere Posey at the bottom of the screen. He's in bounds all the way, so he's going to throw the ball back inbounds, but it's not going to be downed at the 1-yard line. Watch when he throw it there. See, the illegal touch is right there. Algeron Verner, who had been out of bounds, came back in and touched it. Now, it's not ruled a fumble because it's not necessarily a loose ball. Where he touched it is where the ball should be down, even though it was declared to have been an illegal touch because he was out of bounds, came back in bounds, and was the first Titans.
I don't know that he touched the ball. And clearly,
that's
After
what they're
the
trying to
ruling
say.
on the field is confirmed. The player did catch the ball at the 1-yard line and threw it back. The ball is dead at the illegal touch spot. First down.
He didn't touch it, though, Kevin. Verner, from what we saw there, he didn't touch it. Very interesting.
Well, Tennessee,
I don't think he was at the 1-yard line when he did touch it, or allegedly have touched the ball.
battle in the backfield. Tennessee, 7 straight drives without a first down. Jake Locker gets a battle block and throws it out, and it was brought in by Britt, who was taken down by Sharpton. It is a gain of 6 and to the 7.
Well, Jake Locker said he was going to listen to his feet. That time, he was smart to throw it, not try to run it. I think they would have corralled him right about the goal line had he tried to run it out. He's smart and aware to get the ball out of his hands, creating a 2nd and 4th opportunity.
Texans have 6 in the secondary. Chris Johnson is in for Locker's 2nd down and 4. Good block by Roos. Oh, he's got the receiver on the near side. Nate Washington. Manning was back there. It's their first down since 7:30 left in the 2nd quarter on a 31-yard gain.
Excellent read, because Kareem Jackson dropped coverage. Manning's not able to get over the top, and Washington right in a nice position. This is just a blown coverage by the cornerback Kareem Jackson, who turned Nate Washington loose.
And for the Titans, some much-needed breathing space at their 38, 1st and 10. Locker slings one to the side, and that was caught on the play. Britt, gain of 9. Coverage by Joseph.
Anytime there's lack of pressure on the quarterback and they're going against man-to-man coverage, Locker's able to make a play, and the receivers are starting to make plays.
And we got a better tempo and pace now for this Tennessee offense. 2nd down and 1. Whoops.
Left guard Andy Levitre.
False start. Number 67 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Well, Levitre's one of those free agent acquisitions to help improve this offensive line. He brought over some veteran play, and Mike Munchak targeted him and said, hey, here's a guy that they believe their better years are ahead of him. And Mike Munchak and Bruce Matthews, I don't know. They're both Hall of Famers, having played on the offensive line in the NFL.
Tennessee with no turnovers. Locker's 2nd and 6. He's 12 of 21 throwing the ball. Big slant. Britt again to the 46 and a gain of 4. 3 yards shy of a first down to New York and James.
Boomer Esiason said that Vic is in a perfect offense.
Yes, he's just put the Eagles back in front. Can't find anyone. He takes off and does what he does best, JB. Runs with the football. 2-yard TD run, 27-23, Eagles on top.
Kevin, you like Shannon's impersonations of you?
He's the best. Glad he's a teammate. 3rd and 2 for Jake Locker at his 46-yard line. Caught for a first down. The nimble Kendall Wright, and he's got room to roam, and brought down by KO, hit by Merciless. A catch and run of 14 down to the Houston 40.
Nifty catch and run by Kendall Wright. Look, he gets inside a cushion, kind of lose bearings on the play right there. Then a second move by Wright. So it's just a real good awareness of where the seams are in a zone defense that time, catching the Texans in zone, not in man. Then excellent yards after the catch.
The no huddle is helping.
It really is.
First down and 10. Locker deep, and all kinds of hitting right there. Britt and Joseph doing hand-to-hand combat. Incomplete. 2nd down and 10.
Real good coverage that time by Joseph on the back end. Is able to stack the receiver, Kenny Britt. Britt could not run around him. He just ran over the top of him. Tripped up Joseph is going to have to come out of the game.
And Brandon Harris is going to have to go in. So Joseph wants a break, and the third-year player out of Miami, Harris, will be in his place.
Now, do you find him and take advantage of him if you're Jake Locker?
Let's see. 2nd down and 10.
Man-to-man coverage on the back end.
Chris Johnson, lead by Walker. 1st down and then some. Brought down by Swearinger. It's down to the 25. A run of 15. Another Tennessee 1st down.
Real good play. Watch them seal the edge as they're able to get outside or coming underneath. Chance Warmack, I should say, kicking out on Whitney Merciless. Secondary defenders were in man-to-man coverage, not able to close quickly enough on Chris Johnson.
Boy, they took over at the 1. They've got it 1st and 10 at the Texan 25. Walker. Oh, what a hit, and that's going to be a penalty flag on Kareem Jackson. What a catch and holding on. Kendall Wright, a gain of 5 to the 20-yard line, but they're going to tack on more.
Can't do that anymore. It's going to be a hit on the defenseless receiver. Went to the head. You can see Nate Washington is having words
And a completed
with Jackson.
pass. Personal foul, number 25 of the defense. Hit on the defensive receiver, the head and neck area. After distance to the goal, automatic 1st down.
There was a time in this league where you could do this, Kevin, and everyone would have applauded the hit. But times have changed in the NFL where player safety is a very important thing.
Down to the 10. It's 1st and goal for the Tennessee Titans, who began the drive at the 1. Walker to the 1 and a touchdown. Caught by Delaney Walker. Walker to Walker. A 10-yard touchdown pass, and we are tied at 16 with the extra point coming up.
Well, we told you Kareem Jackson had been the most improved player on this defense. He gave up all 3 plays on this drive. The long ball down the sideline to Nate Washington, the hit on the receiver, and then he's not able to make the tackle there on Delaney Walker. He makes the tackle, there's no touchdown on the play, and Kareem Jackson just not playing smart, not executing the plays on the field, but good throw from Locker over to Delaney Walker.
A 9-play, 99-yard drive, a little over 4 minutes. The no huddle, a key component. Baronis for the lead with 6.5 to play. Washington caught one for 31. Wright had a catch and run of 14. Run of 15 by Chris Johnson, and then a 10-yard touchdown pass to Walker. Delaney Walker on the right missed most of preseason recovering from knee surgery. He was a big-time free agent signed from San Francisco, and he just got open to get a 10-yard touchdown pass from the guy on the left, Jake Locker. And it's a 17-16 Tennessee Titan 1-point lead, 6.5 to go. With Baronis. And Keyshawn Martin will take it out for the Houston Texans. To the 21. 25-yard return. There was a big penalty on the Texans secondary on that drive.
Yeah, this drive was aided by Kareem Jackson, the corner on the right side. They victimize him. He drops coverage on a 31-yard completion to Nate Washington. The late hit on Kendall Wright gives them an extra 15 yards, and then his inability to secure a tackle right there at the 1-yard line against Delaney Walker. 3 plays given up on the drive by Kareem Jackson, allowing for the 99-yard touchdown drive.
Foster in the backfield with a couple tight ends for Schaub, who's hit and brought down. Hit on the play and sacked by Derek Morgan. Former ACC Player of the Year. A flag was thrown. A hold is called against the Houston Texans on top of it. Loss of 9 right now as it stands. Back to about the 12.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Holding, offense, number 75. Illegal contact, number 55 in the defense. By rule, those penalties all set. Replay 1st down.
So take away the sack from the Titans defense. By rule, it hurts them more than anything. And You know, so much had been talked about the poor play of maybe Pittsburgh in week 1. The Titans brought it up. We met with them. Do you believe in this football team now, the way they're playing in this game today?
First down, Foster. He was held initially by Antonio Johnson. And then Patoa Tua got him as well. Loss of 4, back to the 16.
This offense is moving backwards simply because the Titans defense, look at the penetration of the blue jerseys in the backfield of the Houston Texans, just swarming all over Arian Foster. They're just relentless playing for Greg Williams and Jerry Gray on this defense.
Second down and 14. Each team with all their timeouts remaining in shot. Again they come through. And the pressure once again delivered by Antonio Johnson. It's a sack. It's a loss of 7. He's back to about the 10. Make it the 9-yard line.
Eric Morgan also in, number 90 and 91. Johnson, Morgan, look at that. He tucks right under Johnson. Morgan cleans up for the sack. They're starting to get after Schaub. Told you they were relentless. You can see the energy in which they're playing on the defensive side of the ball.
It's 3rd and 21. They need the 31. Schaub intercepted and picked up by Alteron Werner. Walking in a pick 6. A 23-yard return.
I got to tell you, this one belongs to the rookie DeAndre Hopkins. Matt Schaub is anticipating. He knows it's blitz. He made a check at the line of scrimmage. And guess what? The rookie wide receiver have to see the same thing. He's got to sit on this route. And that's where he's going. He keeps drifting up the field. Werner breaks on it. Easy interception for a touchdown. Schaub was expecting Hopkins to sit against the blitzing defense, knowing he had to get rid of the football in a hurry. Wrong route, wrong read by Hopkins.
Not since 2011 had Schaub thrown a pick 6, over 1,000 passes. Victimized right there. Baronis with the extra point. Under 5 to play, and the Tennessee Titans have gone on top of Schaub and the Texans here in Houston, 24-16. Little quiet here in Reliance Stadium. Schaub, as you can see, over 1,000 pass attempts, separating his last and this most recent interception return for a touchdown. Alteron Werner returned 4 interceptions for touchdowns while at UCLA. And one of the reasons why he was made by Jeff Fisher a 4th-round pick. He liked his playmaking ability. He became a starter last year. And he just has a huge defensive play for the Titans. And the subsequent kickoff and Martin to a knee and a touchback to the 20.
Take a look at the interception yet again. It's going to be a 5-man rush. That means it's more than they can block. That's a blitz. Now, look at the top of your screen. Because, okay, stop it right there. If you are the receiver, once you see the cornerback sinking, you've got to break it and come back to the ball. But no, DeAndre Hopkins, he drifts. And Werner, he can see the ball leaving the hand of Matt Schaub. He plays it perfectly, catches it, and runs it in. Young wide receiver has to be able to read coverage in the same way that the quarterback is reading it and be on the same page.
Well, it's not like the Texans aren't used to being in this position. Just a week ago, the same thing, 1st and 10. Incomplete, looking for Hopkins, coverage by Werner. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Now, Hopkins really struggling to get off the jam at the line of scrimmage.
Well, tonight on 60 Minutes, where can you hear about Syria from President Obama, President Assad, and one of the CIA's top intelligence officers? Only on 60 Minutes. Tonight on CBS, Titans have scored 10 points off 2 Titan, make a Texan turnovers off of 2 Houston turnovers. 2nd down and 10. Schaub deep to the sideline, incomplete again for the rookie Hopkins. And again, the coverage applied by Alteron Werner.
3 consecutive throws to the 1st-round pick, DeAndre Hopkins. 1 intercepted, 2 incomplete. And they're getting the man-to-man coverage away from Andre Johnson. This is why Hopkins was drafted in the 1st round out of Clemson. He had an excellent training camp. They felt he had a good feel for the offense. But there is a difference, Kevin, between what you see from defenses in the preseason and what you're bound to see once the regular season games start.
Titans in the nickel, 3rd down and 10. Foster a block, and then he gets away, and down goes Schaub. Sacked on the play by Cam Wembley in his 2nd season with the Titans. The 2nd sack by Tennessee, and a punt coming up. The loss back to the 9, a loss of 10.
Oh, this defense, look at the overload right here. And they're coming from the backside. Watch him dip and rip and keep coming against Dwayne Brown. They're rotating coverage towards Andre Johnson. They're singling up man-to-man on DeAndre Hopkins, the rookie, expecting him to win, and he's not able to do so in coverage against Alteron Burner.
Leckler to punt. Raynard waving everybody away, and downfield it goes, and it is finally touched by the Texans. 52-yard punt. Well, a big one coming up after this from the Meadowlands as the Denver Broncos, after their impressive win to open up the season, Thursday night game in Mile High City against the defending NFL champion Baltimore Ravens, in a game where Manning threw the 7 touchdown passes, Peyton Manning that is, taking on his brother Eli Manning. Chris Johnson in the eye, couple tight ends, Walker from his 39, 1st and 10. Here's Johnson. Dives in, Cushing makes the stop, gain of about a yard to the 40-yard line. As Schaub and the Brain Trust take a look at the Polaroid pictures from upstairs.
So I think what Carl Durrell is pointing out is that they're rotating coverage towards Andre Johnson. They're looking to take away Andre Johnson. They're allowing single coverage on the rookie wide receiver, and to be honest with you, Hopkins single, he's just going to have to win against single coverage, and that's where Schaub has to go with the football.
Jackie Battle has come in with multiple tight ends. 2nd down and 9.
Way to go!
Battle up in there. Cushing again had a hand on that tackle along with a couple others to the 41-yard line and a gain of a yard.
Well, right now, we told you coming in, Mike Munchak, what do they want to do? They want to shrink the score. They want to play small ball. They want to dominate at the line of scrimmage, both with their offense and defensive line. So far, they've done that. Defense is dominated, getting pressure on Matt Schaub, forcing 2 interceptions, and the offensive line is nipping away where they're really managing the clock, winning the time of possession, and running off 10 more offensive plays than the Houston Texans.
Jake Locker today, 16 of 26, 139 and 2 touchdown passes. Matt Schaub has gone 17 of 31. He's got 2 touchdowns, and there are 2 turnovers. Watch for number 13, Kendall Wright. He has 3 receptions on 3rd down today, 3rd and 8 from the 41. Wright is in motion.
Go!
Wright, oh, and he dropped the ball. Is it a fumble? Merciless. That may be a live ball. They're waving it off now across the way. An official was on it, and that's why you saw the chase to the ball, just in case it's an incomplete pass. It'll be 4th and 8, and Tennessee's going to punt.
Titans really lucky. Very fortunate on that play. That ball is ruled a forward pass. Because if it isn't, and there you can see that it is, and just dropped on the play by the receiver.
Brett Kern to punt. And awaiting it back at about his 11-yard line is Keyshawn Martin. Hang time is there. Oh, Martin is drilled on the play by Tommy Campbell. A special team ace, 47-yard punt. All the way to the 12.
Oh, the Titans are putting it on the Houston Texans today. They're getting physical, and you can see Campbell coming down right there. As soon as he catches it, lays a lick on him in a very clean fashion.
Special team player who grew up in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
Home of one Darrell Revis.
Home of a lot of good players.
A lot of good football players.
Ty Law, I think, was from Aliquippa.
There you go.
All right, now they're going to mark him at the 13-yard line. So Matt Schaub is working with 2 timeouts, about 3 to play. And down 24-16. Going right to work on 1st and 10. And for Andre Johnson, coverage is there by Jason McCourty. 2nd down and 10.
I can't tell you about the Titans, and you talk about this defense. They're playing really good on the back end in terms of coverage on Andre Johnson, coverage on DeAndre Hopkins, the Texans' 1st-round pick out of Clemson, and still doing a good job of shutting down the run game. After that 60-yard run by Ben Tate on the first possession, they haven't given up much either by way of running or throwing the football against this Texans offense.
Will Foster in the backfield. Chop on 2nd down and 10. Drill as he throws. Great looking catch. DeAndre Hopkins snares the ball. It's a gain of 23. It's a 1st down to the Texan 36.
Give credit to the rookies hanging in there, Kevin, because we've already been able to illustrate his miscues, and prior to that completion for the Texans, only 83 yards here in the 2nd half.
1st and 10. Underneath, Hopkins chased by Werner. There's a block by Daniels, and a tackle is made by Bernard Pollard. The catch and run to the 49. 13-yard pickup and a 1st down.
And watch Hopkins. They have to go to him, Kevin, because the rotation of the coverage dictates that they go to him. Good block there by Daniels, and excellent tackle in the open field by Bernard Pollard.
So Hopkins had 5 receptions in San Diego on Monday. He's got 4 catches and 61 yards this afternoon. It's 1st and 10. Shot deep. Oh, what a catch by Hopkins. Working on Vernon. A flag is thrown at about the 24.
Wow, you got to give Schaub a lot of credit for going back to the rookie after that critical interception, showing confidence in the 1st-round pick.
He has been called for shoving off earlier in the game.
But this one is an equal hand battle by both the defender and the receiver. I think they ought to pick up the flag and give it to Hopkins, because it looked like the defender was pushing as well.
There is no foul for defensive pass interference.
How about Hopkins? Hopkins on this drive. A reception for 23. A catch and run for 13. This one good for 28 deep in Tennessee territory.
And he needed to come through. If they're going to get back into this game, the way the Titans are playing coverage, looking to take away Andre Johnson, looking to take away the tight ends, it's all about him. He's getting single coverage over there, and Schaub has shown great confidence in going back to the rookie, and he's rewarded his quarterback by making plays on this drive.
5 in the secondary. 1st and 10 for Matt Schaub. Going to the end zone again. Looking for Andre Johnson. Climbs the ladder. Incomplete.
Wow.
Incomplete. Boy, the coverage. He was smothered on the sideline. Pollard was there along with McCourty, and Johnson is down.
Pollard knows how to lay a lick. You just ask those New England Patriots. Like everywhere he goes, he has a kind of collision. Double coverage. McCourty underneath. Here comes Pollard over the top, arriving a little late. You know, he didn't lead with his helmet, Kevin. He did go with his shoulder, and, you know, are you going to throw a penalty on that? Did he make contact with the head? Yes. But that was about all that was exposed, considering where McCourty was in relation to Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson has had a string of just fabulous receiving going back to November of last season with 90 catches and 1,300 yards of reception. I mean, he's just been great. He's not getting older, he's getting better. He's been one of the top receivers in the NFL just over that last span of time.
Okay, he catches this ball. That's, you know, are you taking that? You're saying, oh, maybe that little last poke, but isn't he down, Kevin, at some point, even though he's out of bounds? I think you might want to challenge it. There's the catch.
Absolutely.
And now he's down. The ball's still on his shoulder, and then it's the defensive back who pokes it out late. And then they said it's incomplete. Wow, that one's tough.
And he took a look at that time from Pollard, his ex-teammate on this Texan team. Pollard played here in 09 and 2010 with 28 starts for the Texans.
He's an enforcer. Everywhere he's been, he's laid, a physical, intimidating style as a foundation. But I think it's worth challenging because in my mind, he not only had the catch, he secured the ball until he was on the ground. And there you see, there's the flag. I think Kubiak's ready to throw it out. It wasn't until the defensive back poked it out, but Kevin, he was already on the ground and out of bounds at that point when the defender pushed the ball out of the chest of Andre Johnson. How long do you have to hold on to that ball? I think he executes the catch. As we take another look at it, there it is. He's on the ground. Okay, now he's got the ball. Then it's poked out.
His feet were clearly in.
Yes, so he's in. The ball doesn't move. Okay, right there, he's got possession of it. They may say he jostled it or bobbled it after he hit the ground. It's right there. There's maybe just a little movement of the football.
That's
at
a catch.
the end.
And they have challenged. Flag is on the field.
Challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass.
If the ball moves once his back hits the ground, then they're going to uphold the ruling as an incompleted pass. If the ball doesn't bobble in any way, shape, or form after the shoulders of Johnson makes contact with the ground and he secures it cleanly, then they have to rule it a catch, even if Pollard knocks the ball out late. See if the ball moves right here once his back hits the ground. No, I think that's a secure catch. And see, then it's poked out. And so I think you have to give him the catch. I've been wrong before because this is all open to interpretation. But according to the rule, as we understand it, Kevin, you have to complete the catch through the act of falling. That's what the rule states. I think he has the ball now. Now, once he falls, he still holds on to the football cleanly and securely before it's punched out by McCourty.
Well, we're talking about a guy who is someday going to be in Canton. He's put up historically good numbers. He's been the model player for this franchise. He never complains.
No.
He says, they move me all over, and you said, well, do they ever ask you what you want to do? He goes, no, I just, whatever they say to do, I do. And
he is phenomenal.
They're going to go take a look at him, I think, as you can see, in the locker room.
He's a fine young man. I think he's a model for any wide receiver who wants to be great in the National Football League. He's the guy you got to model yourself after, the likes of Andre Johnson here in Houston.
20th all-time in receptions, 24th in yards, passing Hussein Muhammad earlier today. Now, this is a situation which Gary Kubiak had to weigh very seriously because they've got the 2 timeouts. Should they lose this, they'll lose the timeout. But as you can see,
I will say this, though, 14 seconds from now, they're going to get another timeout.
Exactly.
with the 2-minute warning. So I think you've got to go ahead, and you're going to get the ball at, the 3-yard line if they overturn the call on the field. Remember, it was ruled an incomplete. I think by virtue of the rule, based on what we saw there, I think they can overturn it and give Andre Johnson a catch. Because I thought he held on to the ball through the fall after making contact with the ground.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The receiver touches the ball, has 2 feet down, and is out of bounds on his back with possession of the ball when the defender reaches over and knocks it out. So therefore, it is a completed catch. The ball is at 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. It is 2:18 on the game clock. Reset the game clock to 2:18. Houston wins the challenge, therefore they have 1 challenge remaining.
It is a 21-yard completion. It is a 1st and goal coming up for the Houston Texans and 2:18 to play.
That's why we have instant replay in the NFL. The goal is to get it right, and I believe they did. Now, what are the Texans wanting to do? You know you're going to get some kind of run game or run fake using one of these tight ends where they've been perfect in the red zone.
It's 1st and goal. Foster is in. Arian Foster hit by a couple on top Pollard and a gain of a yard to the 1.
Wow. Bernard Pollard knows how to fill a run lane with great physical intensity. He came up and slammed the door shut on Arian Foster.
Down by 8, the 2-minute warning. And the Texans deep in Titan territory. Matt Schaub has the ball at the 1-yard line in Tennessee territory. He's had completions of 23 to Hopkins, of 16 of 28, and moments ago a 21-yard reception by the great Andre Johnson, which set up the 1st and goal.
Yeah, and 2nd and goal. If you're the Tennessee Titans on defense, you got to stop the run, but keep your eye on your coverage. Watch the tight ends in this offense, or even the fullback trying to slip into the back of the end zone.
Foster is in, 2nd and goal at the 1. Jones in motion. Schaub incomplete, looking for the tight end Garrett Graham, who has caught a touchdown today. 3rd and goal.
There was pressure in the face of Matt Schaub. He was forced to get rid of that. Didn't want to take the sack there because he had pressure coming right in his face. Now, if you're the Texans, you got to understand this is 2-down territory. Don't you go for the touchdown on 3rd and 4th down? You don't get it here.
3rd and goal at the 1. Pollard was defending on the last play. Foster remains. Arian Foster. That is a touchdown. Foster with his first touchdown of the year.
It's his own stretch to the left side behind the fullback Greg Jones. Foster's patient, but he understands when he needs to cut it up. And I think you can go for it on 3rd down with a run play, knowing that you still had 4th down to get it. They're going to go for a 2-point conversion to look to tie it up here.
He says, watch for me, I'm going to call a timeout.
Yes, he is. Based on the look they get defensively, I'm sure.
He's got 2, and they're trying for 2. In the pistol. Foster, Newton with the block. Held back. He got over. Mike Martin was trying to ride him down. Number 93. And the strength of Foster takes him in. They get 2 and they tie it at 24.
Foster almost second-guessed himself and tried to bounce it. He committed to the inside and stayed there. They got the look they wanted, Kevin. That's why Kubiak didn't call the timeout. And watch him go here. He starts to go there, but then comes back underneath. And they get the block at the 2nd level as he drags a defender into the end zone. Mike Martin, number 93, cannot keep Foster from breaking the plane of the goal line.
It sums up an 8-play, 81-yard drive, 1:14 off the clock. Hopkins was big on that drive. And then Andre Johnson had the 21-yard reception inside the 5, and Schaub gives it to Foster for a couple runs. A 1-yard touchdown run, and then they got the 2-point run in by Foster.
How about this? The Titans says, we're going to make the rookie DeAndre Hopkins beat us. And he did. He made enough plays, and then, of course, Andre Johnson on the big catch going down the sideline. And then Foster took it in from there for the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. How about the Texans? This offense, boy. DeAndre Hopkins, after giving up that interception for a pick, he really redeemed himself on that last possession.
7th all-time ACC receiver at Clemson. Number 1 for the Clemson team. Bullock with the kickoff. Raynaud will watch it sail and whistle over his head and out of bounds. And with 2 timeouts, 3 timeouts for Tennessee, 2 for Houston. As we reset, 1:53 to play. Here comes Jake Locker.
This is what everyone in Nashville wants to know about their quarterback with the Titans. He's a 2nd-year starter. He's a young player in the NFL, former 1st-round pick. Can he set up Rob Baronis? Can he be the guy to make the plays in the 4th quarter on the road to get his team a win?
On their 20-yard line, 1st down and 10. Johnson in the backfield. The left tackle loose with a block. Incomplete. Jackson was covering Washington. 2nd down and 10.
Already, once they get the Texans in man-to-man coverage, it's clear they want to go to Kareem Jackson. We already told you on the last scoring drive, Jackson gave up 3 significant plays, Kevin, on that drive. Clearly, he's the guy they want to attack here as they try to get the ball over to Nate Washington, matched up against Jackson on that play.
Second and 10. It's caught. Grabbed by Britt. Held by Joseph. It's a pickup of 9, and they put the ball at the 29.
Oh, tight coverage by Jonathan Joseph, and a great catch by Britt against that tight coverage. Really good throw. You could see the arm strength of Jake Locker. They believe in his arm throwing the ball outside the numbers against tight man-to-man coverage.
Britt today, 4 receptions. 3rd down and 1. The blitz. Off the fingertips of Britt. The coverage by Joseph, 4th and 1.
Wow, Britt's got to make that catch, Kevin. They rely on you. Former first-round pick, big body guy. High throw, though, from Locker. Locker's got to bring that one down. Give Britt a chance to make the catch. That could have been intercepted. In fact, it was thrown so high.
Keyshawn Martin back at the 25. Brett Kern to punt from about his 18. Not much hang time. Martin from the 21. Hit by Campbell and brought down again. 50-yard punt, 1-yard return. Houston with 2 timeouts and 57 seconds to play in regulation. How about this kid? This kid faced a game-winning kick a week ago and drilled it. He's missed a couple today. Will they put him in the same position as in week 1?
Got to get to the 37-yard line of the Tennessee Titans. And after Locker throws high on 3rd and 1, didn't make the play. Had the opportunity to make the play, but couldn't stick it in the chest of Kenny Britt. Gives the ball back over to Matt Schaub at home. And Greg Williams wanting his defense to rally.
No Andre Johnson, still not out there. 1st and 10. Schaub to Gene. Star Gene covered by Alteron. Werner incomplete. 2nd down and 10. 51 seconds to go.
Star Gene in for Andre Johnson. Getting man-to-man coverage. Werner doesn't ever get his hand around and still draped all over the receiver. So your hands are on the receiver. Back turned. He never played the ball. From what we know, even a former defensive back knows that's pass interference. He's got to play the ball without making contact with the receiver, and he did not do that on the play.
With Arian Foster in the backfield, 2nd down and 10. Schaub. Martin. Oh, and he breaks a tackle, and there he goes. Keyshawn Martin. A catch and run to the 46, a 32-yard gain and a 1st down.
I attended training camp here at the Houston Texans, watched their receivers and spoke with their coaches. They felt guys like Keyshawn Martin and DeAndre Hopkins, DeFear Posey were guys who would really explode this year. They were looking for a number 2. They found other guys who can make plays at the wide receiver position when Andre Johnson is out.
2 timeouts from the 46, 1st and 10. Schaub belted as he throws, and he's got his receiver again. This time, the tight end, Owen Daniels. 13-yard pickup, tackle made by Zach Brown. Put him at the 33.
Martin, Daniels, got several guys making plays for their quarterback, Schaub, as you see Bullock warming up. Hopkins, all these guys are starting to come up. They know they have to do it when Andre Johnson's not out there on the football field.
Timeout, Houston, 1 left and 30 seconds remaining in regulation. A week ago in San Diego, Monday night. In his first season in the NFL, Randy Bullock kicked the game-winning field goal as time expired to give the Texans the win over the Chargers. They were down 28-7, a furious rally, and they get the win. Now today, he's missed a couple. He's 1 of 4 kicking last week and today. And let's see if his second made field goal would be another game winner.
Well, they're already inside of that target line. We said they needed to get to the 37-yard line. They're at the 34.
Foster in the backfield. 1st and 10. Daniels. The coverage on the play by George Wilson. The 27-second mark. With a timeout remaining. Bob McNair, the owner, watching on the sideline. Will it be the same thing for a second consecutive week?
McNair has been a fabulous owner here in Houston, bringing this team from their expansion days in 2002 and giving the general manager Rick Smith to his right and the head coach Kubiak everything they need to build a winner here in Houston.
2nd and 10. Shot. Good reception made. Daniels, gain of 5. Wilson there. Incomplete pass, they said. He did not hold on.
He tried to stab it with that one hand, not able to haul it in. Shaw put the ball right where he had to. You get the sense that ball was tipped as it left the line of scrimmage. This defense is relentless, putting pressure in the face of Matt Shaw. Mike Monchek said, how do we get ourselves in this position? We had an 8-point lead with about 2 minutes to go, and now we're fighting for our lives.
In the pistol with Foster, 3rd and 10. Arian Foster. Brought down by Foku to the 33. A gain of a yard. 4th down.
Great play by Foku. Reading that play because it looked like it was developing really good. He was able to come clean, come downhill, and make a nice tackle on Foster.
0 of 2 today from a long way away. He's been wide right on both attempts.
Both of the 50-yard variety, as you said, selling wide right there. Missed opportunities by this offense to put more points on the board and missing another one wide right. One might say this game would be well in their control had he been able to connect at least on one of the 2 he's missed so far today, both 50 yards or longer.
Well, he didn't play last year because of a groin injury after being a 5th-round pick out of Texas A&M. He won the game last week on a 41-yard field goal from 51 yards away. Leckler the hole. And he has a timeout. Timeout was taken by Tennessee. That was good, by the way.
Good use of the timeout by Mike Munchak and company. Sometimes you get the sense, though, when you allow the younger ones to get that practice kick in, they get in rhythm. It's kind of like playing golf with your wedge. You hit one, you feel like you can hit another. It's all about a rhythm for some of these young kickers. Developing a comfort level, as Bullock nailed that one.
51-yarder. Randy Bullock. Blocked! It was blocked on the play. A flag is down. Michael Griffin is the one to leap in front of the kick.
Or was he offside?
Or was he offside?
Are in the neutral zone before the snap of the ball. In that sense, they're going to put him even closer for an opportunity.
Offside defense. The 5-yard penalty, and we will have one umpire down.
Top of your screen. That's the side he's coming from, and there he is, right there. Yep, you can block it. Because, boy, Daniel says, I couldn't block him. He's coming too fast, too soon.
Now he is 46 yards away. For the win. Another timeout.
He's getting a lot of practice.
Out, Tennessee.
And that one.
It'll be a 30-second timeout.
Bristling left.
He's getting a lot of attempts here, Kevin. he might find his wheelhouse.
A lot to think about.
No time left on the clock in regulation. And Matt Schaub saying, Come on.
I can't watch.
He says,
He says, I can't watch. He's been iced a lot.
it will be his 11th fourth quarter game-winning drive of his career after having one last week in San Diego.
And he does not get it, hitting the upright. Overtime.
Wow. Well, things are exciting here in Houston. Matt Schaub leads his team down, put him in position, and then Bullock misses his third field goal attempt of the game. And Mike Munchak says there's new life for his Tennessee Titans.
He missed from 50 twice. He misses on a game-winning attempt with no time remaining from 46, which will send this one to overtime.
Of the 4 attempts, only one went through. Of course, he was iced. They had called the timeout.
Modified overtime period. Each team will give them 2 timeouts. All replays are upstairs. Fourth quarter timing rules are in effect. Okay? Each team will have an opportunity to possess the ball, except if one scores a safety or a touchdown on the first possession. All right? You're the visitors. There's the coin, the head, the tails. What is your call?
Tails.
Tails is the call. Tails is the call. It is a head. You want the football. Which way you want to kick? Turn right around.
Texans come back to tie the game at 24. We're in overtime in Houston. In overtime, as Jeff Triplett just told us, these are the rules. The 1 15-minute quarter. 2 timeouts per team. No coaches' challenges. A touchdown or a safety on the first possession wins the game.
We got ourselves one heck of a battle. This is what divisional rivalries are all about.
Each team told us yesterday and Friday that this is their main rival.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. They both shared the same hometown.
Yep, we sure did.
Here in Houston.
Rob Baronis the kickoff and picked up by Keyshawn Martin, 5 yards deep in the end zone, and he takes it to the 22 and brought down by Damian Stafford, a rookie out of Nebraska, in a 26-yard return.
Well, we've seen Keyshawn Martin make plays for Matt Schaub. We've seen the rookie DeAndre Hopkins. Remember, Andre Johnson out of the game, been taken into the locker room after making a critical catch to set up the game-tying touchdown and 2-point conversion. And now Schaub is having to rely on maybe lesser experienced receivers on the outside.
With Arian Foster in the backfield from the 22, it is 1st and 10. They come on the edge. He gets away from Morgan. He underthrows Foster. An incompletion with the coverage on the play by Foku. And we just, again, tried to get some information on Andre Johnson. And again, we come up empty-handed. We cannot find out. They have not released anything.
Yeah, good pressure by the Tennessee Titans on defense. Good coverage on the back end. Forcing Schaub to pull the ball down. He did have a little time, but he had to move his feet. Having to throw off rhythm is what Greg Williams, Jerry Gray, and this defensive coaching staff for Tennessee want to do to Matt Schaub.
5 defensive backs, 2nd down and 10. Oh, and he's got Graham. Garrett Graham on the move and brought down in the play by Brown. A catch and run of 19. He'll go to the 40.
Garrett Graham matched up against 56 Akeem Ayers and able to get some separation there. The protection held up. Only a 4-man pass rush. The offensive line was able to provide protection, and Schaub found the open tight end Graham.
It was Ayers, you're right, and he's not 100% playing with this sprained ankle. Missed a lot of preseason. 1st and 10. Arian Foster, Myers at the block, and then holding on for dear life on the field after a gain of 5. It's Stop right there made by Jarrell Casey.
Key for this Houston Texans offense is to get positive yards on first down for Gary Kubiak. 5-yard run by Foster on first down, setting up 2nd and 5. It gives them the option of play action pass. It gives them the option of the reverse bootlegs, dragging the tight ends across the formation where they want to get those tight ends matched up against linebackers in cover.
Still the nickel on 2nd down and 5. Foster. Good spin move, a block by Martin, a broken tackle. Zach Brown rides him down, but a first down as he takes it all the way to the 38, 16-yard gain.
Foster is stopped initially, but he's able to spin out. They're not able to secure the tackle, and he's able to get around the edge. Look, even the defenders lose track of where Foster is. It's a nifty run. He's starting to chip away. This is an example of what Kubiak told us, Kevin. The more he gets the ball in games, the better he tends to get.
Ben Tate has come in now with a 1st and 10 from the Tennessee 39. Ben Tate, blocked by Brown. Good looking run by Tate. Knocked out of bounds by Wilson. It's a pickup of 13 after Foster gained 16 and Graham caught one for 19.
Watch him dip inside and then get outside of the block on Pollard. That is just phenomenal. An excellent block setting the edge right there by the tight end Garrett Graham against Pollard. That was the key block that allowed the run by Ben Tate. Now they know they want to score a touchdown. Do you trust Bullock at any point to come in and kick the field goal?
It's a first down from the Tennessee 26. Tate. Not much up the middle. 2nd down as Bullock continues to regain his form.
Touchdown wins it for the Houston Texans here in overtime. A field goal would not. They would have to go ahead and give the Titans an opportunity to possess the football. So while a field goal would give them the lead, it would not secure the win on this possession here in overtime.
Foster is back in. 2nd down and 10 from the 26. Here comes Morgan. There goes Schaub. Incomplete with a 3rd and 10.
They did a good job of not allowing Owen Daniels to get out on his route. They trapped him in the traffic, understanding he's trying to leak to the 2nd level of the defense on the play action fake. Well played, well defended by the Titans.
Schaub today 24 of 44. 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, including a pick 6.
But they've only converted 4 of 15 on 3rd down. And they've struggled when they've gotten to 3rd and long as they are here on 3rd and 10.
8th play of the drive.
Timeout.
After this timeout,
Houston,
with
they're
11:35 to play in overtime. And tied at 24 as the Texans came back to tie it on a 1-yard touchdown run by Arian Foster, and then the following 2-point conversion run by Foster.
Well, this is how things got started off. Of course, here in the 2nd half, the interception returned by a touchdown by Alteron Werner gave the Titans the lead, and then Arian Foster finishes off a drive with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. That tied the game up at 24 apiece. Bullock had a chance to win it at the end of regulation, but the kick goes off the upright and sends us into overtime where we're all locked up at 24 apiece.
After the timeout, 3rd down and 10. Foster at the side of Sean. What a catch by the rookie Hopkins! Down to the 1! Oh, it was a beauty, a 25-yard pickup. It's 1st and goal, Houston.
This kid's got heart. Watch him attack this football, Kevin. He comes back to it. He attacks the ball, stays on his feet. If he hits this byline, it's game over. But they say he steps out of bounds before he gets the touchdown. Had he scored, he would be going into the tunnel having won the game. This kid has bounced back after running a bad route, allowing that out run. Werner interception for a touchdown we showed you later. And there's Pollard coming over to save the day. He does step out before he hits that pylon.
He beat Jason McCourty
DeAndre Hopkins is now the leading receiver for the Texans in this game. Well, he has 6 and Johnson has 8, but 114 yards receiving in the game today. Wow. This kid has really redeemed himself. He's bounced back.
And this was after a 5-reception game in San Diego. Foster is in, first and goal. Gene on the move. Arian Foster. Grabbed by McCourty and brought down. It's a loss of 2 on the play. Also, Zach Brown was in there with the stop.
Well, you think the Titans defense got a good feel for that zone stretch run play by Foster. They haven't given up much on it, except for when it's bounced outside. And he says he's trying to hit it up on the inside. You have to wonder if they're going to come back with that pistol formation where Foster's been very good running the ball around the goal line out of that formation.
And a timeout. Houston will take the timeout, and they are now empty.
DeAndre Hopkins has been stellar here in the second half. Coming up with a catch there to ignite their scoring drive. He had 3 receptions, Kevin, on that critical drive to tie the game at the end of the fourth quarter. And this one here in overtime. Nearly scoring a touchdown to end the game, but setting the table for the Titans here, or I should say for the Texans. If they can score a touchdown on this possession, it's game over.
Coming up, Manning against Manning. Peyton will be in New York to take on Eli. The Broncos and the Giants up next on CBS. Some will get Jacksonville and Oakland. So it's second down and goal at the 3. Foster is in the backfield. Schaub, Hopkins, Werner the coverage. Incomplete. 3rd and goal.
Well, they got the isolated one-on-one coverage they wanted outside the numbers, where your guy can get it, and that's it. I think Hopkins is going to learn. You go up with 2 hands on that play, and then you force the defender to either go for the ball or they're going to be flagged for interference. You go up with 1 hand, they're not going to give it to you because you're pushing off with the other. That's what that means.
Graham had a catch at 19. Foster had a run of 16. Tate had a run of 13. Hopkins had a catch at 25. Setting him up now. 3rd and goal at the 3. Foster on the move. Schaub. Hopkins. Touchdown! The Texans win. They beat McCourty. There was a flag on the play.
That's going to be on the Titans. Offsides. It's going to be penalty declined. Pass rusher was in the neutral zone before the snap of the ball.
Offside defense. The penalty is declined. Result of the play is a touchdown. However,
the second consecutive week the Texans have come back from a 4th quarter deficit. After the review, and of course every scoring play is reviewed.
And if this play is what we think it is, upheld as a touchdown, ball caught 2 feet inbounds, then it's going to be game over, and you're going to hear a loud roar here at Reliance Stadium.
Great catch.
Very good catch. He controls it through the fall and contact with the ground. It's about as clean as you could ever do it. This rookie has grown up today.
His 7th reception may end up being a game-winning reception.
See, ball's in both hands. Now both feet come down. Then he comes off. So he clearly had the ball in his hands when both feet were in the end zone. It's clean. They are so proud of this young man. He went through a tough stretch in the game earlier in the second half, but he's overcome it. You love to see it. This team is developing great resiliency in their first 2 games so far this season.
They are 2-0 for a 4th consecutive season.
There's the catch before he comes down, and left foot down, right foot down.
And holds it through the catch.
Yes.
review. The ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a touchdown. The game is over.
The second consecutive week the Texans have overcome a fourth quarter deficit to win a game. A thriller in Houston. The Texans go to 2-0, the Titans to 1-1. Coming up next, Game 2 on CBS. Hopkins, the star, the game-winning touchdown pass by Matt Schaub. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.